along with Chase Oliver. Sir, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, man. It's another beautiful Tuesday.
Indeed it is. Uh, there was a lot of different pieces of news that happened this week. There were a lot of surprising things that happened in the NFL. But I wanna start the fact that it is uh, PS Tuesday
Oh, baby.
after my guy Patrick Surtain managed to, in the summer. I remember I was sharing with you that Pat they had over under on 1.5 interceptions for Pat for the season, and I said I get it. People don't throw to him that much because of who he is, but the idea that he wouldn't get more than two interceptions, or at least two interceptions, like just make it a push, if anything, because he had seven interceptions coming into career interceptions coming into Sunday's game. So, he's only averaging about two per season. So I said, all
Yeah.
right, I'll take a chance here because in the off chance that Bo is absolutely dog shit terrible, there's going to be a lot of passing. There will be a good bit of running, but he will have opportunities to get these interceptions. And lo and behold, in one game, this man managed to cash this bet, including a 101-yard touchdown interception return. But on a day when a lot of people were anticipating that we would find out where Devonte Adams would be traded, there were a lot of teams that, we talked about this last week. There were some teams that were the front runners, one of which was the New York Jets. And as it turned out, the news that we got today was not that Devonte Adams had been traded from the Raiders to the Jets. It was instead that the New York Jets had fired Robert Saleh, their coach. And it was a bit of a surprise, a bit of a shock. I'm sure there were plenty of Jets fans that had been clamoring for his firing beforehand. But apparently, from what we're understanding, Woody Johnson, because he was the ambassador to the UK during the Trump administration, has a lot of friends there, and he had brought a lot of them to the game. And they were not. He was not too thrilled about having egg on his face with how that Vikings and Jets game turned out. Also a lot of other things that have been building up, but maybe that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I like to believe that it was the 10-9 loss to the Broncos the week prior. Not that I'm ever rooting for anyone to lose their job or anything like that. It's more, the idea that the Jets were just automatically going to win the division, even with the Bills there, even with the Dolphins there, that they would be a playoff team. This idea that you still have to, we play the games for a reason. And so it was just a very interesting situation. What are your thoughts on the Saleh firing? And luckily, we get to have a divisional round matchup as our Monday Night Football, which we will get to towards the end of this. But what are your thoughts on the Saleh firing?
It was very interesting because I didn't think he would get fired during the season, most likely after the season, especially if the Jets trended this way. But I think they felt he was the big problem and the big
Yeah.
issue of not changing that team. One of the things Saleh came in with, and especially from last year, was the elite defense. And as long as that defense is still intact, which they kept it intact, they actually added a piece in Hassan Reddick, who, yes, has not played, but they were making moves to keep this defense strong. And this season, the Jets defense has not been strong, has not been one of the focal points. And in fact, they have been they keep causing penalties. They're not forcing turnovers like they did last year. They're not setting up the offense in good field position. They're really just making their job harder for the Aaron Rodgers led offense. And yeah, we can blame some of the Jets struggles on offense too. But when you're a defensive head coach and your sole purpose of why they hired you was that, hey, you're going to be a defensive guy, you gotta deliver on that result. And he wasn't delivering on that result. And I think also there was friction between him and Rodgers, and head coaches should know this: the franchise quarterback will always win that battle. There's not many times where the franchise quarterback has lost a head coach. Like the most recent example is with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Yeah, choice between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. Both of them are gone. The Seahawks ended up getting rid of
Years
both of
later,
them. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's a really interesting situation. They did, and it's funny because you and I talked about this not last week, but the week prior. We were talking about coaches in the hot seat, and I don't know if we necessarily did it on air, but we were talking about who would potentially be elevated up, and we both were like, "It can't be Hackett. Like, who would they who would they put up?" And I said, "It's got to be that the defensive coordinator." And sure enough, they put interim head coach is now Jeff Ulbrich. Best of luck to him. He's got a decent amount of turnaround considering they had the early morning game on Sunday, but then they flew back. But they will have a Monday night game, so we'll see what happens there. But let's remember, guys, that the NFL is a long season. We never know how the Jets are going to turn around or are going to end up. But we want to thank all of you guys for tuning in so far here on Tru Picks number 4 here on the Truly Heat Sports channel. Remember, hit that like button, comment, let us know what you think about our picks for this week and previous weeks. But let's go over how we did last week. So I had a very good string in the morning of the morning games. I did not do so well in the afternoons, which was a little frustrating because I did do a parlay of all of the Sunday games and the Monday night game, but I did do a round robin, so I did 2 parlays. So despite the fact that my $1 could have turned into 495. I did end up making a tidy bit on the round robin aspect. But that brings us to, and now I'm doing this nice little guy here so that we can have our totals at the end of the year. But we're close to 500 considering we started at week 3. But let's talk about this week 6 slate. And as always, guys, these are the current, as of Tuesday evening, money line odds according to FanDuel. Now, last week we had a few teams on bye. This week we've got another 4 in those asshole Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Rams, the Miami Dolphins, and the Minnesota Vikings. Man, just imagine if you're the Vikings. You go to England, you you win the
Mm-hmm.
you go into the bye week 5-0, and the people you beat end up firing their head coach, and now they still got to play on Monday night. That is crazy. I mean, the only way it could be sweeter is if it were an NFC team, and even better would be if it was like a divisional rival. I can't really see a way that you don't feel good because that was an ugly game for the Vikings to win. Darnold definitely looked like the Darnold of old. I put in one of the
Mm-hmm.
chats that I was surprised that he was throwing interceptions because when he was on the Jets, he had an aversion to throwing to players in the Jets uniform. But he did have that pick, but the Vikings were able to rally up. However, they did take a bit of a hit with Aaron Jones finally picking up the injury that many people anticipated him picking up. But it comes sort of at a great time because they have this bye week now that they're going to be able to go through. But Thursday Night Football, speaking of division rivalries, that's the only way it really would have made that Viking win sweeter for the Vikings. And talking about the NFC, we have the Seahawks taking on the Niners. Both of these teams coming off of losses. This is I'm kind of surprised by this because the Seahawks, both of these teams losing was surprising because the
Mm-hmm.
Seahawks should have beaten the Giants. That was one of the ones that we both got wrong. The Seahawks should have beaten the Giants, and even towards the end of the game, I was like, okay, this is going to be where Geno pulls something out of his ass and is able to pick up this win, and they just could not get the job done. And in a game where, not that he's this great running back or anything like that, but the Giants don't have Devin Singletary, Tyrone Tracy, their
Yeah.
I think 4th round or 5th round rookie, really stepped up and arguably stole the starting job from Devin Singletary
Oh
because of
yeah.
how electric he looked and his ability to break through and get to that second level on some of those runs. Meanwhile, on the flip side, the Niners completely shit the bed against the Arizona Cardinals. They get up to excuse me, they get up to 23 points, I think right around the half, or maybe a little bit early in the third quarter, and then go completely silent for the rest of the game, including a Brock Purdy pick, which Brock isn't like he's not very well known for throwing picks. He's
Yeah.
known for ball security and being able to get it to playmakers on time, on schedule, but a rather uncharacteristic interception. But kudos to the Cardinals for doing something with that, right? Like taking advantage of what your opponent is going to give you. He's going to throw the ball up there and potentially let interception happen. Defense, you got to get the ball. You got to come down with it. And then also that, I think it was 4th and 5, that throw from Kyler to Harrison. It was one of those, Marv's up there somewhere. He just let
Yeah.
it go. And Marv was like, he's right. I am over here somewhere, and makes that catch. And the Cardinals hold on to a 24-23 win over the Niners. So now both of these teams, that already is a divisional loss for the Niners. Now we have another divisional round matchup for the Niners where they travel up to Seattle, not that far of a trek from the San Francisco area, but this one seems primed. Like both of these teams need wins. If the
Yeah.
Niners lose this, I think they'll drop the 2 and 4.
And
Uh,
0-3 in the division.
yeah, the Seahawks, if they lose this, not that they were really, at least on paper before the season started, not that they were really contenders for the division crown, but they were really considered a wild card team at the very least.
Yeah.
So this is also a must win for the Seahawks. The Seahawks, I don't think they picked up too many injuries from the game against the Giants. And the Niners also didn't really pick up too many injuries. We still have no word on an actual timetable for Christian McCaffrey to return. It's supposed to be relatively soon. They say within the next 3-4 weeks, he's already starting to ramp up. But 3-4 weeks from now is week 10. And
Yeah.
2, if he is not 100%, the Niners really need to stack wins now. So between the two of these teams, and to me, that it's a must win for the Niners if you want to keep your playoff and division hopes alive. Because even if you win this game, you're not back on track against the division, because to your point, they would now be 2-1 in the division, but they absolutely would be viable for a wild card spot, which is a wild thing to think of for the San Francisco 49ers, at least how they have appeared these past few years. So I'm going to take the Niners in this one. What about you?
I'm going with the freaky Thursday night football upset. I think the trend still contends for the Niners. They'll go up early, they'll look good, and then just like the Rams, just like the Cardinals, the Seahawks will roar a comeback, and we're like, oh, what's happening with San Francisco? I feel good about the Seahawks here. I think they have the weapons, they have the skill set to keep the ball away from the Niners. Purdy's looked really good for them, and that's the thing. If the thing with Purdy is this: if you can force him to cause a late turnover, that's when the issues start causing. Because Purdy, he'll have like early game interceptions, but those don't really hurt the team. Those are just early game. Oh, okay, they did something that I didn't see on tape, blah blah blah. But late in the game, when you're gonna have to force the situation, it's just one of those things where it's like the Niners, I don't know what it is. Like in the second half, they haven't looked like this strong team. This is not the same team that I saw week 1 that I thought, oh yeah, they could just replace any running back with Christian McCaffrey. Like the red zone has just been horrible. Like the red zone offense is not scary. They used to be automatic in the red zone, the 49ers. This year, not so automatic. Like there's no way. Like if you look at all the red zone, because the Niners can get to the red zone, that's not the issue. The issue is scoring touchdowns in that red zone. And Shanahan is not one of these coaches that like going for it on 4th down. He's all about let's get the points, let's get the points. And the more you're kicking field goals, the more you're just letting that other team back into the game. You could
You
be
know,
up 9-0, but you had 3 possessions and they only got 9 points. That's
that does
just a
that does remind me though. I am mistaken. There is an injury to the Niners. It's Jake Moody,
yeah, the
the
kicker.
field goal. That's why they had to go for it on 4th and 23
Yeah.
against the Cardinals when they probably would have just taken the points.
Mhm.
But one thing that I think is interesting, and I'd like to see how this shapes what you think here. The Niners and the Seahawks. Now, right now, it's a little. Now we're getting to the point where defensive yards allowed gets a little wonky because, like right now, the top two teams in yards allowed are the Titans and the Chargers, but they had buys, right? But we have at number 12, the Niners have allowed just about 1,540 yards. And
Mhm.
right below them at 13 is the Seahawks with 1,555 yards. Meanwhile, they've allowed seven total. The Niners have allowed seven total touchdowns. The Seahawks have allowed six total touchdowns. But what I think, sorry, that's for passing, and for rushing, the Niners have allowed four. The Seahawks have allowed five. Now, what is interesting is the Seahawks have allowed more rushing yards than
Mhm.
the Niners. So, do you feel as though this could be one of those? It's weird to call it return to form because there's really not that much form at this moment for Jordan Mason. But do you think this could be one of those games where the Niners get a little back on track when it comes to their rushing attack?
Yeah, there definitely will. It's just more you got to score in the red zone. That's the difference. Is this Niner team is not scoring in the red zone like they did last year. Like that, they were one of the scariest red zone teams last year. Now they're just a porous red zone team. They're not taking advantage of getting down to the red zone. When you get down to the red zone, that's the money zone. That's where you have to score, and they're just not scoring like they used to. And obviously they miss Christian McCaffrey because teams like once they realize that like Purdy's gonna throw it off play action, that they're gonna just play back. And then later on, Mason, he's not like McCaffrey as dynamic when it comes to being a receiving option. He like McCaffrey is like an extra wide receiver. And
Yeah,
that's like the most important thing. When you have a guy like McCaffrey, it's like that's another wide receiver on the field, and he's so dynamic. He can make a guy. Jordan Mason is not a. I can make like 4 or 5. He's more of like I'll bull rush through this guy and see
right.
if I can knock him down, but he's not going to juke or do all this crazy spin move stuff and get a touchdown and stuff. So that's why for me it's just like if the Niners showed better red zone efficiency, I would choose them. But just because of the fact they've choked the last 2 games against division rivals, and then this is the first divisional game for the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to be amped up. They're going to be like, yeah, we don't want you guys thinking we suck because we lost to Danny Dimes. We were looking down on Danny. Yeah, now we're going against Purdy. Like that's why I feel like this is a better matchup for the Seahawks. They're going to be more juiced up. First divisional rival game of the season, taking on the Niners, who just lost their second divisional rival game and could go 0-3. Like they want to kill them while they're down because going 0-3 in the division, that's like I think the Niners will still make the playoffs. It's just
Here's my counterpoint though, because one, I'm looking up who the Niners signed, and they signed Matthew Wright. So he was in 2020, he had 3 games with Pittsburgh, 2021, 14 games with Jacksonville, then 22, a couple games with Kansas City and Pittsburgh, 23 at a game with Carolina. He's got 85% accuracy career for field goals, 95%, let's say, for extra points. But if we look at Seattle's wins, they're 3-2 right now. And their wins came against the Broncos, which in week 1, the offense still figuring it out. Week 2, Patriots, but it went to overtime. And nobody's considering the Patriots any, at least at the time, any kind of world beater offense or even a strong offense. And then week 3 was the Dolphins, but that was the first game I think where Tua wasn't playing. So they're winning against teams that really don't or did not at the time have offenses. When they face the Lions, they get destroyed, and their defense allows 42. And against the Giants, they lose, and that was a Giants team without Neighbors and Singletary. So I don't know. It seems primed for a really good Thursday night football showdown. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
I'm
Uh
also giving the Seahawks a bit of edge because that home crowd, they will
oh
be
yes,
loud
yes,
as
of
hell
course. Trust me.
for the Niners. Like they're no Niner fans going to be traveling like that.
If I had ever forgotten how tough it is to play in Seattle, week one reminded me of that for sure. But let's turn to our Sunday games, where we will kick off in London again with the Bears. Technically, it's a home game. They will be hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars, which, if you think about it, it should be reversed because the
Yeah.
Jags have way more ties to England than the Chicago Bears do. But I mean, the mayor of Chicago will be there rather conveniently. Um, he actually got like super defensive because they were asking him. They were like, you happen to be in England on drumming up business for the city. At the same time, the Bears are playing. Did you schedule this on purpose so that you can go to the Bears game? And he was like, "No, I was there. I'm going there to attract business for attract trade and things like that for the city of Chicago. It's just going to be a really nice thing that I'll be able to bring some of those people to the Bears game as part of this thing." It's like, oh, so okay, taxpayers are paying for this. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
I live in Chicago, so it kind of annoyed me. But anyway, we have the Bears taking on the Jaguars. And one thing that Bears fans can no longer say is that they are annoyed because the Bears have looked good the past couple weeks. Now, granted, one of the way they looked good was beaten up on a very bad Panthers team. And, to his credit, Andy Dalton looked like he was having the Dalton Renaissance as
Mhm.
usual. But it's still only one person on a roster of 52. And granted, having a good quarterback can help raise up the spirits of the entire team and make, say, the defense want to play better. However, the Bears said, "Yeah, but we can have that kid had that like giant poster of the trade for Bryce Young, and then all of the things the Bears got because of it." And so that the Bears were like, "We are absolutely motivated to destroy you, just to reinforce how dumb of a trade that was for you to make." And the funniest part of it is, if the Panthers had not done that trade, it could have been them having Caleb Williams throwing deep passes
To
to
DJ
DJ Moore.
Moore.
I was like, this is just, oh wow, very very the irony of it all. But the Bears have looked good. Caleb's starting to put it together. A lot of people put a lot of pressure on number one overall picks. That's part of what happened with Bryce. Now, granted, he has other limitations, at least when it comes to the NFL style of gameplay. But there's a lot of pressure put on number one overall picks, especially when you're touted as these generational talents. And luckily, we have two people in this game who were or are considered generational talents. They are the quarterbacks, because on the flip side, the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence finally looked good, coming up with this new strategy that anybody really could have told Doug Peterson a while ago, which was, if you throw the ball to Brian Thomas Jr.,
Yeah.
somehow life will get better for you. And it was interesting because in the offseason, he had said he wanted to reduce Travis Etienne's workload, and he wanted to get Tank Bigsby more involved. And sure enough, as soon as they really started getting Tank Bigsby more involved, Bigsby's like, "Hey, I have fresh legs. I have not taken as many hits as ETN. I don't have ETN had that Liz Frank injury." And sure, that was some years ago, but like, it's building up over time. There's a reason why running backs don't get paid. They have a certain amount of shelf life. And that's not to say that ETN is anywhere near that shelf life, but Bigsby is just a different change of pace. He provides
Yeah.
something to the team. And the Jaguars pull off their win, and they're able to come into this game with a little bit more momentum. But the question is, can they take down this really, really good Chicago Bears defense?
Yeah.
I don't know. because this Bears defense now starting to play much more loose. This team's starting to come together. They're like, okay, Caleb's figuring it out. It's on us now to maintain the level that we did again, that like in that Titans game where we won the game for the team. It's on us to make sure we're holding up our end of the bargain and not to take the gas, not to take the foot off the pedal when it comes to pressure, when it comes to trying to force turnovers. We have the talent. We have the Briskers of the world, the Jalen Johnsons of the world. We've got a decent up front when it comes to stopping the run. Can we do it? I think they can. I think this will be another great game for the Bears offense because of how well the defense can set them up. And also, I don't think Caleb's going to struggle as much with this Jaguars defense.
Yeah.
That's to me, it's which one, which you are you going to struggle more with? Kind of feel bad for anybody who's got to start some Jaguars skill position players in fantasy, only because this Bears defense, they're going to have to be very creative if they want to get points on the board. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think the Bears are going to win this football game. Let's be real. The Jaguars won, but it didn't feel like they lost that football game. I did not feel like they won that. I was watching. I was just like, oh, good for them. I'm glad they won. But you guys felt like you lost. This was like a hand me. Like the Colts was like, we feel bad here. You can have a win. Joe Flacco was playing against you guys. Come on. Yeah, we'll get, and he looked good too. And I think the Bears will keep up the good momentum. The good thing for the Jags is if they lose this game, they just stay in London because they're playing back to back in England. So they don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I think the Bears momentum is just really strong offensively and defensively. The Jaguars, they did find a new formula, but I don't know if this formula is going to be working against the Chicago Bears defense. That it's a little bit too late to figure out what you want to do. I mean, BTJ, I'm sure BTJ individually will put up numbers, will look good, but I just don't see the Jaguars because like if you're playing this close with like a mediocre Colts defense, I can't imagine how it's going to be when you're playing against the Bears defense. I know people are going to say, well, didn't the Colts beat the Bears and stuff? Yeah, but here's the thing: the Colts have this quarterback. His name is Big Tony Anthony Richardson.
Okay, all right.
He
gotta stop with this nonsense about
no. He makes it hard on defenses. That's just it. Like it's a hard player to go against. This super freak athlete back there, just doing everything. And then also too, they had Jonathan Taylor
too.
Huh?
He's got some super freaky injuries too.
Yeah, and then Jonathan Taylor is also a really great running back. I mean, he was once an MVP candidate, and he played like that against the Bears. And I'm sorry, like Tank Bigsby has been nice, but I don't think he is a Jonathan Taylor. I don't think Travis Etienne's a Jonathan Taylor. And that's the way you beat this Bears defense is you need to have someone that is super freaky that makes the Bears defense overcommit. And the Jaguars just don't have that on offense. It's the wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., but he's just a wide receiver. So he most likely will be on Tyreek Stevenson the whole game. So avoid Jalen Johnson at all costs. That's the one guy. So, but yeah, I think the Bears win this game. I think, and then Swift has finally woken up. Swift and Roschon have just been a very nice 1-2 punch for them, especially when they want to slow the game down.
Yes.
And it's like, and then when you're getting balls completed to DJ Moore, it's just, there's their deep threat that everyone is looking for. So, yeah, I know. I think the Bears are going to win this game. I think Caleb, once again, shows great progression that makes Bears fans very, very happy.
The only thing that got me a little nervous about the Bears offense is that they continue to have goal line issues. And they plugged in Roschon last week. Mm-hmm. On Sunday to try to solve those. Say, okay, Swift is a great back when we have space and things like that. Let's try to get Roschon more involved for goal line. And Roschon was getting stuffed a little bit. I mean, 10 carries. Yeah. He had the touchdowns, but like 10 carries for 25 yards, mainly goal line situations. And so it is a little concerning because if those break slightly differently, but then in the second half, I noticed that the Bears said, okay, once we're in, say, 20 yards out, we're not trying to get to goal line situations. We're just trying to score because we don't want to try to see what happens if we have to do goal line situations. So yeah, it'll be fun because I think that the Bears have the ability to score on the Jaguars from distance, which is going to work in their favor. But let's turn to, you saw it on the background when we started the video, arguably the matchup that
Oh, here we go,
everyone
Jim.
is looking forward to.
Oh, I don't know, Jim. It's going to be a good one. We got Thanos. We got Lamar. I wish Mahomes was playing, but I love it, Jim.
Arguably the matchup of this week. We have the reigning MVP, who has looked like the reigning MVP, going up against. Oh, and I messed up the money line colors here again for a second week in a row for one of these or two of these. But we have the reigning MVP of Lamar Jackson against the guy who right now seems to be running away with offensive rookie of the year on the other side in Jaden Daniels. And there has been some people who have argued that he could just bypass offensive rookie of the year and win league MVP as a rookie. And Caleb,
Not crazy.
you gotta. I'm not saying that you. Obviously, at the end of the day, like I'm very proud of the fact that Peyton has the highest number of league MVPs, but I think he would much rather have been able to, like, if he could combine all 5 of those into another Super Bowl win, he would much rather have the Super
Yes.
Bowl win. So, Caleb, I know you don't really care about offensive rookie of the year in the grand scheme of things, but if you want it, last week was a great way to get back on track because this guy didn't even play for the fourth quarter. I don't think it was the entire fourth quarter, but like at least half of the
Yeah.
fourth quarter because they didn't really need him to. Here, I think they will need him to because the Commanders and the Ravens match up very, very sneakily good. The Ravens defense is not good. It's actually not good if you have somebody who can throw. And yes, they pulled out a win last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. But man, if you started Jamar Chase or you started Joe Burrow in fantasy, oh man, that was beautiful. I unfortunately, in one dynasty league, was playing against a guy who started Lamar Jackson, which was terrible for me. But
Oh.
yeah, it was not fun. And my my starting quarterback was Josh Allen, which that was just sad. But anyway, this is a scorable defense. On the flip side, the Commanders have a very scorable defense as well. So I think this one turns to our running game because if you can control the time of possession and you can control the clock, that's going to be really important. The Commanders' defense, like I said, very scorable, but they're not going to be able to stop Derrick Henry. There are very few defenses in the National Football League that can stop Derrick Henry. And if they do commit to stopping Derrick Henry, well, that's where Harbaugh just pulls out that little read option thingy that he's got in his playbook. And now you got to try to stop Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson. Or they try to get Justice Hill in space. Or they, I don't know, remember that Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are on the team. Or just out of the blue, they'll throw like a touchdown to Rashad Bateman for some reason. That doesn't make sense. But hey,
Yeah.
everybody has to contribute in some way, shape, or form, even if that is run blocking, even if that is acting as a decoy. Harbaugh really does employ that team aspect when it comes to his offenses. So I don't think that the Commanders can keep up with this one because Jaden Daniels, while he is electric on the ground and he is throwing some dimes out there,
Yeah.
there is nobody on that offense for him to throw to besides Terry McLaurin. There's Zach Ertz, but like Zach Ertz isn't really that much of a game changer in 2024. He's a great, yardage guy. Like we need to get a first down, or it's a kind of a, third and long situation. We're trying to avoid a third and long situation. We can move up incrementally and then go for a little bit of a shot. But I don't think that the Commanders have the person to really take on this Ravens defense, as terrible as this Ravens defense is. So I'm going to take not the Commanders. I'm going to take the Ravens in this one. But just to make a point of that, right now the Commanders are allowing just about 16.5 in yards, and they've allowed 11 passing touchdowns with 0 interceptions. They've allowed 650 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Meanwhile, the Ravens are have broken 1,700 in total yards allowed. They've allowed 9 passing touchdowns. They have 3 interceptions, but they've only allowed 302 rushing yards. They have allowed 5 rushing touchdowns. I don't, it's going to be interesting. That's the strength of this Commanders offense.
Yeah.
Running the ball to open up the Terry McLaurin deep shot. I don't know if they can pull that off against the Ravens. How do you feel about it?
Man, this is going to be a fun one. I hope it's a fun game. I hope it's not an ass kicking by either team. Jaden Daniels will try to improve to 3-1 against fellow Heisman quarterbacks. The only one is Baker Mayfield so far. But will Lamar Jackson make it 2-2? I do agree. I think whoever controls the ball wins this game, and especially the Commanders. Like the rushing attack has to control the game. Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, and Jaden Daniels himself. I just think the Commanders, like you said, lack a little bit of firepower. Like you can't have De'Ami Brown be like the other guy that helps out Terry McLaurin. Like, De'Ami Brown's fine. Like he'll do his job, but it's not like you can't expect De'Ami Brown to like burn someone like last second in the game, last second in the half, like he did against the Cleveland Browns. And I think the Ravens are a little bit more disciplined. I think Lamar. I think they've settled down Baltimore, and they showed that big time gritty win over the Bengals. Like that's a win that you like seeing from a team that a lot of people think is the best team in the AFC. So I got Baltimore as well. I think the Ravens will win this game. I hope it's a good one. I hope it's not the bad Jaden Daniels game. I hope it's not where Jaden Daniels comes back down to earth as a rookie. I want him to keep doing well because he is absolutely fun to watch. He is not just because he runs, but I think he's just a smart player. He's just a very smart player, and I like watching smart players play, and I like watching players, that people say can't play, prove people wrong. So yeah, I'm going with the Ravens as well. But I think the Commanders, if they keep it close and if they're able to keep Lamar, Henry, and that Ravens offense off the field, I think they will have a good chance, a really really good chance, because that Commanders defense. They step up at weird times. like
Right.
they'll let up, they'll
Right.
have a lot of yards, but then there's that weird situation where you're like, and Dan Quinn, he's such a good defensive mind. Like he's so good at this type of stuff. So it's a bummer that NBC couldn't get this for this Sunday night game. I mean, I really want to watch that game. What do I have, Mike? We were watching the Giants and Bengals, Mike. I mean, I like Joe, Danny Toms. He's cool, but I wanted Jaden Lamar. Like, come on, Tony. Like Tony Romo. There's a bunch of other games that you could have called, like for CBS, man. Come on. There's a lot.
This is definitely on the schedule for being the game of the week for this week. I can't really think of any other one because it's a lot of teams have started to pull away. If there was going to be one on paper after week 2, it would be the next game, Saints and Buccaneers, because the New Orleans Saints looked like they were firing on all cylinders. They were coming out hot. They had defense that was holding up against pressures that the offense was bringing. But I said this many times. I've said this in so many chats. I said this on here. In order to keep playing well, keep winning, the Saints needed Derek Carr to play mistake-free football. And we did not see mistake-free football on Monday night against the Kansas City Chiefs. I was the embodiment of the they can't keep getting away with this meme when that game was happening, because of how frustrating it was to watch the Saints barely be able to put up anything on offense against the Kansas City defense, which just gave Mahomes time. And it was really annoying because Mahomes had like nothing. They found a time machine. I'm convinced they found a time machine. And the person that they said was Juju Smith-Schuster of 2024 was actually Juju Smith-Schuster of 2020. That's the only explanation that I can really find that makes sense. They had the time stone, maybe, but the reality stone would be nice for the Saints because they left that game knowing that they were going to have to be starting Jake Hayner as QB1. Now, maybe they go, hey, we've got this Spencer Rattler kid. Let's see what we can do on a short week, one day short of preparation. But we did draft him for a reason. Let's see what we got here. But on the flip side, the Buccaneers coming off of a bye week, not a bye week, but coming off of that loss to the Falcons on Thursday Night Football. They've had 10 days to just sit and stew about the fact that they know they should have won that game. They should have won that game. And you've got Baker Mayfield playing really good football. You've got Mike Evans on pace for his 1,000 yards. You've got Chris Godwin, didn't get a touchdown, but was moving the chains. You had Sterling Shepard getting a touchdown, Giants legend. You had Cade Otton making plays. You had not Rashad White, but Bucky Irving coming through. Granted, he did cause the fumble or did allow the fumble that helped change the game in favor of the Falcons. But I don't think that's going to be enough for Todd Bowles to necessarily put him in the doghouse, at least not permanently, because Rashad White, great pass catching back, not a good between the tackles running back. So this is a setup for the Saints to get their asses handed to them. I don't know if the Saints defense can really be able to overcome either Jake Hayner or Spencer Rattler at quarterback, because Buccaneers defense, it's not a world-beating defense. We saw that. Now, granted, that was Kirk Cousins entering Kirktober, Drake London, Drake. And how are they supposed to anticipate Drake London coming out of the game with a potential concussion, and then Daryl Hodges, not Daryl, I forget the guy's first name, but Hodges coming off with this just game-ending
overtime touchdown.
Yeah, like there was a lot of things working in the Falcons' favor, but the Buccaneers' defense, you can score on them if you have a quarterback, if you have playmakers, and ultimately, I'm gonna pull something. I'm gonna borrow something I think you're gonna say. In this situation, I look at who the head coaches are.
Yeah,
and I don't think that Dennis Allen is pulling off something against Todd Bowles.
Yeah,
But let's see if you agree with me.
Yeah, Buccaneers are winning. Look, the one thing with Derek Carr is at least he could throw a deep ball to Shaheed every once in a while to get them on the board. It's that Saints offense afterwards, nothing against this Chiefs defense. And it was like, I get the Chiefs defense is very good and people love them and they just make the right play, Spags over blitzes all the time. But this Saints offense, what happened? The first 2 weeks, you guys looked phenomenal. And then nothing ever since. Teams figured out how to stop Kamara, slow him down a little bit. And, Kamara, the thing is he's had a really good year. He's looked much better than he has in the last 2 years. But, the wheels have still been – just because you rotate the tires every so often does not mean the tires are good. So it's one of those things. I think the Buccaneers are just a better football team than the Saints right now, and I think they will win this football game easily.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have a quarterback change to talk about. But unfortunately – that's a quarterback change we're going to be talking about in a couple games, because it's not the quarterback change that people in Cleveland wanted to hear about, because the Browns are continuing to roll with Deshaun Watson as their quarterback. There have been trade talks for Amari Cooper. I like Amari Cooper as a player. Did not like the fact that he was a Raider for a very long time. Because there would just be routinely somehow 100-yard games against the Broncos. And I was like, this is terrible. Can we get this guy out of here? And he did. He went to the Cowboys. Then he went to now he's in the Browns. And there are trade talks. And one of those places, one of those potential landing spots is in Kansas City. And that would annoy the shit out of me even more. than it was when he was with the Raiders. But this is a putrid offense. Watson looks lost for the majority of the game. I would say like 90 to 95% of the game. And then there'll be one or two handful of plays where he looks like there's some flashes there of the guy that led the Texans to all those great seasons, which was not that long ago, which is the craziest part of this. He was drafted the same draft as Mahomes and Trubisky. It's not that long ago. That was only 7 years ago. And so, man, I don't know with this one, because the Eagles coming off of the bye week, people getting healthy, people getting rested up. I think Devonta Smith will be back. I don't know if A.J. Brown will be, but I don't see how the Eagles lose this. At least they shouldn't. If the Eagles lose this game, Nick Sirianni, like, buddy, don't, like, just at each week, just take something home from the office, because I don't see a world where, unless you make the playoffs somehow, you win the right to continue being the Eagles head coach. But this is it's set up for it's set up for a really, really funny, I don't even want to call it trap game, but just like complete shock surprise for if the Browns win. The only thing that will make me sad is the Browns defense is good enough to try to limit Saquon Barkley in yardage, and I would like that for fantasy purposes, him to get yardage.
Well, Stat King put me into Agent of Chaos. I think the Cleveland Browns are going to destroy the Eagles, not just beat them. Destroy. Jalen Hurts does not look good. We can talk about Watson not looking good. Hurts has not looked good either.
Oh, terrible.
And I think against this Browns defense, that is a good defense when they're not tired. But if they can just help the offense, force a turnover, make it where the Browns don't have to, drive the whole length of the field, I honestly think the Browns could win this game. I think the Eagles, they've disappointed me. I've chosen them 2 years in a row as my Super Bowl pick for the NFC side of things, because I really do like the roster. I think the roster on paper is really good. They're just not delivering for me. Inexcusable usage of Saquon Barkley last game.
I just want to say
inexcusable.
I respect your appreciation of the Georgia Bulldog Eagles. I just want to say that.
Yeah, they're a great roster. I mean, Georgia has some great players. They do. I mean, they recruit well. But I think the Browns, I think they could actually win this football game. And I honestly think this is the funny game. We need this for Twitter. We need this for the memes. I can see the ghetto Gronk memes now. The Browns beating the Eagles. And I'm just sending them to you, to Romeo, to all my friends, just laughing. I already see the Jalen Hurts. If he did a quarterback, the McDonald's wrapping the bun meme. I could see the one where the UPS driver that looks like Jalen Hurts. That's man, I've been working so hard. I finally am now a lead driver and everything. I could see it, man. And honestly, I know a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy on this, but man, I've seen a lot of times where the Eagles have lost this type of game.
That's true.
They're heavy favorites. They should roll over their opponent. This opponent stinks.
But did they have Saquon? But did they have Saquon Barkley in those games?
Yeah, they had a guy called LaShawn McCoy who was also really good.
That's years ago. This is completely coaching staff.
No. It's the Eagles. This is how they are. There's trends for every football team, and the Eagles' trend is losing a stupid game they should not be losing. It's like with the Bengals. They have that same trend too. Like, they lose stupid games they shouldn't be losing to. And the Eagles, this will be the stupid game. This is the one where people are going to call for Sirianni's head. I honestly think too, it's just like, I think the league is trying to push the NFC differently. I think they like this underdog NFC story. I even look at the NFC. I mean, it's a bunch of underdogs. Lions.
That's true. But then there's the Niners. What's the Niners
record? It's not good right now.
I mean, that's true.
It's not a good record.
Being pushed as underdogs.
But they're still but they're losing to the underdogs. Seahawks are the underdogs. Cardinals are the underdog. Like I'm saying, if you look at the NFC standings, it's like, yeah, man, I didn't expect any of these teams to be. Who expected the Vikings to be 6-0? Like, let's be real here. The Vikings, everyone was posting.
Kevin O'Connell did. Kevin O'Connell did.
Yeah, the coach of the year. Just give it to him. You don't have to think any harder. Coach of the year, Kevin O'Connell. This guy, I don't know what he's done, but he's found a way. He's literally found a way.
Did you see his? It was today. It was his interview on McAfee.
No, I did not.
She was hilarious because it was like the most canned coach speak ever. Of like, why do you think your team is 5-0 right now? And he's just like hitting all the bullet points of like, we're being prepared. People are showing up to work. We're executing the plan, and we're finding ways on the off chance that somebody does not execute the plan properly. And then we go back and we start preparing again for the next week because this is what we do. It's football, and I don't know why I'm trying to do it like almost a Barack Obama, but it's that was just it was, and I'm just watching it and I'm like, this man is not mentally here. He's physically in the chair talking. But mentally, he's already like, okay, so Addison goes here, Jettis goes here. Ooh, when I get knocked back, this is what I'm going to
do. He's thinking, dude, Kevin O'Connell's a legit madman and stuff, man. Like, I just think it's the year of the underdog for the NFC. Let those dogs bark this year. Ooh, 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 ooh. And you know what, Eagles? You guys are used to eating dog shit? Well, you're in the dog house after this week. I think the Browns. The pound is coming. The dogs are barking. And Sirianni, you better start the packing. It might be over for you soon enough.
No, but I'm just saying, man. Like I said, if the Browns win this game every week, because I don't think they'd fire him outright, but like just every week, just take something home.
Yeah,
like,
you got it.
Just take something home.
You have no chance, no shot.
Picture the wife and kids, take it home.
That's the first thing you're removing.
Something.
I think that's the last thing you remove because like you're so depressed that you know you're going to lose a job, but at least you get to look at your wife and kids. And
not saying Sirianni in general, but like anybody, any head coach getting fired, like Saleh probably like today, right? Like just if you had done that, but like let's say you had done that and all that was left was the picture of like the wife and kids, and you're just holding that as you walk out by like that's all you've got. And the clothes on your back, walking out of the team facility, that would be terrible. That's a beautiful Hollywood movie.
Well, you know the thing about these head coaches, they get paid pretty well, so I don't feel bad if they give. I mean, Matt Rule, this guy got fired, and he's like, "Oh, let me go to Nebraska, and I'll make the same amount of money as I'm making now." In the end of this guy's crazy.
But speaking of some relatively new coaches. We've got a new head coach in the Titans. You've got a second-year Shane Steichen with the Colts. And speaking of underdogs, there's really no underdog in this game because the way Vegas sees it, at least, again, as of Tuesday evening, is that both of these teams could easily win this game just because. And I don't know if I agree with Vegas on this one because to me, the Colts are the stronger team. Whether or not Richardson is back, Flacco has the ability to make some really great throws. He's showing great timing. And even without Jonathan Taylor, Trey Sermon and Goodson, his name also starts with a T, but I don't believe it's Trey. Tyler Goodson maybe, have looked as capable fill-ins, temporary fill-ins, but capable for Jonathan Taylor, Goodson, and Sermon. And I don't think the Titans are in any way, shape, or form a good team at all. They've got pieces there, but they cannot seem to execute properly. They've got a good running game. They've got, Ridley and Hopkins, but for some reason, their offense cannot get the job done. I'm taking the Colts in this one. I think it will be a close game because the Colts, while Flacco is great and everything like that, there are weaknesses for sure on that team. But I don't think the Colts really are like the Jags beat them, yes, but it really wasn't a dominant, definitive kind of win in the sense that it was proof that the Colts were a bad team. It was more like we got away with one and we're going to run with this one until next week when we have to face the Bears. But I'm going to take the Colts in this one. How do you feel?
Which quarterback will be good or bad this weekend? What will Will Levis do? The most unintentionally funny quarterback of all time, Will Levis. This guy makes me laugh. I love watching him play for all the wrong reasons. He's the best, worst player I've ever seen in my life. Oh God, like where do we go to with this guy? But I think the Colts ultimately are a better football team than the Titans, which is weird. On paper, I like the Titans a lot more. But their offense, I don't know what it is. They keep running to the right side, but on the left side, you have a first round tackle and a first round guard. And that's their best side. But yet they just refuse to run on that left side. They keep running on the right side where they've made some changes. They've had some injuries. They're rotating guys in and out. And it's like, no, run on the left side where you have JC Latham and Pete Skoronski. That's the side you should be running on all fucking time. Like, what are we doing? I don't care if teams figure out they're running left. They're running left. Cool. You still have to stop JC Latham and Pete Skoronski. Those guys are good. They're good. They're good at their positions. Titans are a funny team. And Will Levis, he'll make the bigger mistake. You notice how the Titans offense looked a lot more competent when Mason Rudolph was just being a good game manager, where he was just managing the situation, not trying to do anything. Like, yes, Will Levis probably would have hit Ridley on a deep ball on some of those plays. Yes, Will Levis probably would have, Will Levis, like I said, he makes no sense. He'll have a throw where I say, this guy's fucking sick. Like, holy shit, this guy's so good. And then he'll have a throw. I'm like, this guy fucking sucks. I've never seen a player like this. This is just like, it's so weird how you can go from being really good and really bad the next play. It's like I love this guy. But the Colts are going to win because my dog Big Tony's on the team. Man, Big Tony, he's going to have a good Tony game.
You think he's back?
Well, if he's up. If not, they still have the best backup quarterback ever of all time, Joe Flacco, Super Bowl MVP. The guy got a McDonald's ad. He got paid. He got the McDonald's ad. But yeah, no, I think the Colts are winning. They're a better team. The Titans, it's just one of those teams. They're just having like a weird speed bump, and it's one of those things where it's now like, maybe the roster isn't as good as I thought it was, and it's just the defense is probably out there too much compared to the offense. And I'm sure the Titans. This is what the Titans will be late in the season when a lot of teams don't give a shit no more, or they're playing their backups. The Titans will go on this 4-0 run, and they're a fun team. And then people say, oh, look at the Titans. It's like, guys, how many times have we seen this? Don't get fooled by these late runs. Please don't. If anything, you're just getting your team in worse draft situation, because if you're bad, just stay bad so you get the best pick possible, and you can either trade that best pick or select another stud player. And if I'm the Titans, there's a lot of studs in this draft, and I would love to be high in this draft if you're just going to be bad. So
I saw a mock draft that said they would take one of them to take Jonty, and one of the persons in the comments said, right, because the Titans don't need cornerback. They listed all this kind of stuff, and a Titans fan replied and said, listen, what we do is run the ball. Doesn't matter what anything else. We run the ball. And I was like, oh, that would actually be really funny.
Well, the thing is, Tyshawn Spears only has one ACL. A lot of people don't think he's going to get a second contract. Yeah, because in Madden, he'll get a second contract. In real life, probably not. He only has one ACL, like legit one ACL. He doesn't have another ACL in his knee.
Isn't Pollard on like I think 3-year deal?
Yeah, Pollard can be like DeMarco Murray, just steal touches from Jonty while Jonty becomes someone really, really good. I mean, I don't hate that pick for them. I think it's a good pick. I mean, to me, what defense, like, here's the thing. The Titans are in this situation. They'll have plenty of cap space moving forward.
Yeah.
They'll be able to it's harder to find stud defenders in the draft class because that's always a hit or miss. Like PS2 is like a rare anomaly when it comes to really great corners. And before PS2 and Sauce Gardner, what was the last great corner that you can remember that was drafted in the first round? High at that. Who comes to mind?
I'm trying to remember where Jalen Ramsey was drafted.
Yeah, Ramsey's another one. 2015 draft class.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ramsey's one, and then before Ramsey, who was the other stud corner that got drafted?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's like defend and then pass rushers. Oh my god, how many times have you looked at a draft class and looked at the top 10 pass rushers, and then you see Dion Jordan? You're like, this guy sucked. Like that's the thing. Like defensive players, it's so much harder for them sometimes. Like linebackers, sometimes it's an exception. But even then, it's sometimes like look at Roquan Smith. It didn't take like he wasn't like firing off the gates his rookie season like
No.
everyone thought he was out of Georgia, but it took time. And the Falcons did this for years where they were reaching for players and they were just like, yeah, we'll just reach for these players because we like them and hopefully they'll develop. And Deion Jones and Keon Neal for a short period of time did develop well for them. So it's easier to draft studs on offense that you know are going to deliver for you and then overpay for already really good or solid defenders on defense. So that's why I feel like that it makes more sense. I mean, yes, this draft is very talented. There's a lot of really good prospects, but a lot of the defensive prospects are very, very raw. So it's like not everyone's like Perkins Jr. Not everyone's going to be like Will Johnson. Not everyone's going to be like Mason Graham out of Michigan, the D tackle. Like not all of them are going to be like studs right off the rip. I'm going to take time to develop these guys. These guys are probably going to be situational players. And if you're the Titans and you look at it and you say, we feel like we have a roster that can compete. And if you look at the AFC South and you look at the Jaguars, how they struggle, the Texans are probably the only competent team. But and we see with the Texans on offense, they do miss Joe Mixon a lot. And if Joe Mixon's not healthy, you can always play that card. All they're missing is a couple key pieces. And if we can take advantage while they're hurt, we can jump over them because you're not the Colts. Like I love Big Tony. He's one of my favorite players, but he's a year away of being a year away. This guy is still not developing like what you want him to develop to. So yeah, I think taking a Genti makes a lot of sense, especially because that's the Titans' identity for so many years, from Eddie George to Chris Johnson to hell when they had Bishop Sankey and freaking that kid from Minnesota, I forgot his name. Like they would run the football, and that's what they're known for. So yeah, I mean they paid for DeMarco Murray at one point. They said, yeah, we'll take DeMarco Murray. We'll take this guy. Why not? So yeah, I'm cool with Genti going there, the Heisman Trophy winning running back. I think he'll be the first running back since Ingram. Yeah, Mark Ingram was the last running back to win a Heisman Trophy, and people call him the worst Heisman Trophy winner. Well, that year was hard too because they had Gerhardt, who was also a beast for Stanford, and then the Ndamukong Suh. Holy shit! One of the best seasons you will ever see from a D tackle in college. Like guys, Aaron Donald probably is one of the best defensive players. So you've seen Aaron Donald play. Yeah. Now just imagine the Ndamukong Suh in college. Like, that was Aaron Donald. He was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald. Like Suh was absolutely tremendous. Oh, I always was pissed when the Rams paired them up. I was like, God damn it, dude. This is like fucking a nightmare. The fact they didn't beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl is fucking ridiculous.
But you did two great lead-ins talking about Mixon's injury and talking about the Rams losing to the Patriots, because those are the two teams that we're talking about next. We've got the Texans traveling to the Patriots. The Texans coming off of a box score close game against the Bills. I think it's safe to call it that. Josh Allen in a very uncharacteristically bad performance. 9 out of 30 pass attempts. He completed 9. That's insane. Listen, I get it. Khalil Shakir missing from the game, but Khalil Shakir is not that much of a difference maker on the team. It's a very team offense on the Bills. It's let's get the ball to a lot of different people because we don't have one of these star playmakers after we lost Stephon Diggs. And another team that has been I saw linked to Amari Cooper or Devontae was the Bills. Cap space would be a bit of an issue if the Bills tried to do something like that. So it would have to be a situation where one of the teams was willing, the team that either the Raiders or the Browns were willing to eat some of that cap, but then that price of the draft pick goes up. So we'll see what happens there with either of those. But when it comes to the Bills,
Cooper did a restructure, so it's like 909,000. He's cheap. Like the Bills can't afford
it.
Are they that bad?
I think he is, but I think it's also the question would be like, if you're going to trade for the guy, do you want a 1 year rental, or do you want somebody that may be around for another year?
Oh, that's true.
And it's the second year for Amari Cooper that is not the second year, but the next year that is going to be a bit of an issue. But the Texans, they don't have that problem because they got people on rookie contracts right now, and they'll pay them. That paying them is a problem for down the road. Because what they did was very smart. They said, listen, Nico's been hurt a little bit. Tank missed part of the season. Let's try to get a third option here. And they went and got Stephon Diggs from the Bills, and didn't cost them much. But they also went and got Cade Stover, who is starting to get a little bit more snaps here and there. They got him in the draft for CJ Stroud to throw to. They went and got Mixon so that their running game would ease up the pressure that was on the passing game. And lo and behold, Nico Collins now week to week with a hamstring injury. But it doesn't seem as though it should slow them down that much because, well, they went and got Stephon Diggs. And now they've got Diggs, they've got Tank Dell, they've got Dalton Schultz, they've got Stover. Even if Mixon doesn't come back, Cam Akers has at least provided enough of a running game that it's not obvious that they're going to have to be passing all the time. They have the ability to be a little varied. I can never pronounce this dude's name. The RB2. Why can't I pronounce this man's name?
Owangbe?
It's like Ojumbawale. He also actually out-touched from a rushing perspective, Cam Akers. Texans offense is firing. They're firing on all cylinders. Why that game was not a blowout, I'm still not 100% sure, because the Bills just could not keep up with the Texans. And I said it in one of the chats on Monday night. I said I really want to see Texans versus Chiefs. We will see that. I think it's week 15 or week 16, something like that. But that's going to be a divisional round or title game potential matchup preview. But here, the Texans are going to be traveling to Foxborough, traveling to Gillette. Before they got to worry about all that, they got to worry about whether or not they can beat the Patriots. But why is that a whether or not? Because the Patriots have announced that they will finally be turning over the reins of the quarterback position from Jacoby Brissett, from Jake Brisket, to the third overall pick, Drake May. The Drake May watch is finally over. We will now get to see Drake May get killed because of this offensive line is terrible. Instead of seeing Jacoby Brissett get killed. There were many schools of conflicting thought about whether or not they should have been starting May earlier, let him or have him sit more. You knew this was basically a lost season, but play him down the road, see what you have there, let him develop a little bit more. But here we are, week 6. The decision has been made. They are putting in Drake May. And it is one of those situations where it's like, I don't know what we're going to get because this will be his first start, but I can't see a world where whatever he provides is enough with the rest of the pieces around him to overcome this Texans team. This is a Texans team that's firing on all cylinders, like I said, and the Patriots don't have the star power to keep up from an offensive standpoint. Could this be a close game because of the New England defense? Absolutely. Especially after what I just saw on Sunday with the Texans and the Bills. The Bills don't have this great defense, but they were able to sort of keep it close from a box score perspective when the Bills and give the Bills offense enough opportunities. Even if that were to happen this week, they don't have a Josh Allen who's going to be like, all right, let's just try to run the ball and I'll run it myself. Or they have a James Cook. The Patriots don't have that, which honestly I think was also partially hilarious. They were like, we're going to bench Ramondre Stevenson because of ball control issues of fumbling, and we're going to start Antonio Gibson, who has also had an issue with fumbling. But then Antonio Gibson at one point on Sunday needed a break, and so they put Ramondre in, and Ramondre scored a touchdown. I was like, you can't make this up. But what I can make up is a world where the Texans win, because I think this one's, at least to me, pretty safe and secure. What do you think?
Yeah, the Texans easily are going to win this game. I think they really do miss Joe Mixon. I think the
Yeah,
Texans, if Baltimore's the best team in the AFC, and yes, I know the Chiefs are undefeated, but I think the Texans are the second best team in the AFC. And it's because when they're healthy and they're complete, they just can control the football. And Stroud is a remarkable player who's just well above his years as a quarterback in this league. To me, it's just like the Texans, once they get Joe Mixon back, that's when it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is why. And I think that's the reason why the game was so close, because there were situations where, instead of it being 2nd and 4, it was 2nd and 8. And instead of situations where it could have been 3rd and 4, it was 3rd and 6. And, those are situations where you have to trust Stroud to throw the football. And I'm not saying Stroud can't throw the football, but then when Nico Collins goes out and then you have to choose different plays, who's the primary receiver, you got to change a lot of different things. That's like one of the things when you lose a star receiver, it's not easy to just, because Stroud has that connection with Nico Collins. Like,
yeah,
he treats Nico Collins like Stafford treated Megatron, like, fuck it, Nico's down there somewhere, I'm throwing it to it. And Nico Collins will come up with this big play that changes the momentum, just like Joe Mixon. When that defense is tired and they think, okay, it's 3rd and 6, Joe Mixon will get the ball. You think you're going to stuff him. And he did this with the Bengals a lot of times. He trucks one player, he stiff arms someone, he gets enough separation, and then he just gets this weird burst of speed. And you're just like, what the hell? And then Joe Mixon looks like Adrian Peterson for like 2 seconds, and then he gets tackled. And then you're just like, how can we stop this team? Like, Joe Mixon literally is just killing us. And that's why they went for a guy like Joe Mixon. They wanted that guy who brings, like, we talked about this last week with the Browns, having that Nick Chubb that can just make a play that reinvigorates people. That's what Joe Mixon does. When the offensive line's tired, they're like, gotta fucking block harder. My dog Joe, he going for it today. So that's what they're missing. And I'm glad May is finally starting, because there is a lot of things with the Patriots where I would watch and I'm like, bro, the receivers are open deep, but Jacoby Brissett would refuse to throw the ball deep. So I am interested. Are those deep shots still going to be there for Drake and May? Is it the fact that, our team's going to do the same mistake they're playing with Brissett, play a little bit closer,
right.
not say like, oh, these are some young wide receivers. I think, is it Kendrick Bourne? He should be good for this game. Bourne might be coming back.
I think he should be.
He's a very underrated player in this league, Kendrick Bourne. I know a lot of people probably are just like, oh, he was like the 3rd receiver for the Niners. He was a good 3rd receiver, and he's a good number 2 guy, but like for the Patriots, he's a good number 1, and he's an underrated talent that can kind of do a little bit of everything with the football. So when you add that element of him coming back, and maybe those deep shots are there, and Drake May, being a rookie with all this irrational confidence, throwing deep balls, it will look a lot better for the Patriots offense than Jacoby Brissett just like, nope, I'm not throwing this deep. The guy's wide open. I'm just not throwing it. I don't think my arm can go that far anymore. I'm just gonna.
So Bourne played on Sunday against Miami, but he had a much smaller workload. And then yesterday in a call, he said, I would say about 2 more weeks. They try to give me more time each week. Each week I'll try to get more reps and things like that. But what do we have? About 50 snaps. So if I'm playing about 20 snaps, I think I played about 20 snaps. But if I get 10 added, I'd say in about 2 weeks I'll be able to play a full game. Okay. So he'll be there, but it'll probably be a limited role.
Is KJ Osborne just injured forever?
Yeah. He's there, but like
they don't use him.
No, they just don't. They're not having. To your point, they're not having that take deep shots.
Yeah, KJ Osborne should be on the field more often than that, because he's a pretty good deep ball player. I mean, I liked him in Minnesota. I thought it was a good compliment to what Jefferson and Addison were doing. I like KJ Osborne. So, yeah, I know. I think the Patriots will have some success this game. I think May will give Patriots fans some life, but man, you're going against a really good Texans team. Like this Texans team is really good offensively, defensively. There's nothing really. Like, honestly, the Texans, minus the Vikings loss, there's not really much I can say bad about them. Like, you just fought. I mean, look at what Brian Flores has done to almost everyone. in the league so far. So it's like really, to be honest, it's like the Vikings defense is just really that damn good. And it's one of those things where it's just, hey, you're facing against a good defense. It is what it is. It happens to the best of us. But Texans, once they get Joe Mixon back, they're gonna look different. They're gonna look scary. Like I may have put money on CJ Stroud to win the MVP too. I like those odds. The fact that he's not high up there is fucking ridiculous to me. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going with Stroud to win the MVP. Joe Burrow, I still have my ticket for Joe Burrow winning MVP too, which he could be in discussion, but his team 1-4. not his fault. Like I'm being dead honest.
Not his fault. No.
I'm being dead honest with it. And people know I'm like a Burrow hater, but like I was like, oh, he's gonna have a good year. I think he is gonna have a good year. And then when I saw the Cody Rhodes haircut, I was like, fuck, this guy's gonna suck. And then he hasn't sucked at all. Minus week 1, he's been great. And
instantly got a nickname, American Nightmare, from me in Sleeper and any league where I had him. But let me just read off to you, because it looks like KJ Osborne didn't play against Miami. But let me read off to you his current stat lines here. Week 1, 6 targets, 3 catches, 21 yards. Week 2, 2 targets, 1 catch, 7 yards. Week 3, no targets. Week 4, 5 targets, 1 catch, 3 yards. And apparently did not play on Sunday. So that is KJ Osborne for
yeah. I'll take KJ Osborne on the Chargers. Trade into us.
Well, that's fine. Just after this week. But let's talk about 2 teams that did have wins this past week. The Packers, the Cardinals. This is a relative deep history to this one in the NFC, in the annals of the NFC. These 2 teams facing each other. There's been some playoff matches between them as well. But here we have the Cardinals coming off of that really gutsy win. I gotta call it gutsy because they were able to hold the Niners down and just battle back up. Win against the Niners, 24-23. Now they travel to Green Bay to take on the Packers, who are coming off of a win from visiting the Rams. They're keeping it in the NFC West. The Packers are, but this time they're hosting, and they beat the Rams 24-19 in a game that Stafford didn't look good in. I think that's safe to say. He had a few plays here and there, but didn't look that great. Granted, still obviously missing Puka and Cooper. The idea, I believe, is that Cooper will be back after week 6. He'll be back in week 7. And I think it was something along the lines of it'll still be another 3 to 4 weeks for Puka Nacua to come back, which I'm like, this is like it's almost a lost season for Puka Nacua. It's a lost season for the Rams in general. I don't foresee them making the playoffs at this point. But it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pull off a win because the Cardinals are showing that they have heart, at the very least. Yes, their offense will disappear from time to time, but when push comes to shove, they will battle back. Like they lost, they had that week 1, the Bills game, but they battled back. They disappeared, but they battled back. They weren't successful that time. Last week they were against the Niners. This is a funny line to me because I think it should be much closer than it actually is. And granted, we're, again, as always, I'll repeat, we do this on Tuesdays. But I cannot see a world where Marvin Harrison Jr., when he's already getting a 25% target share, does not start getting catches, getting yardage. I don't know if that's necessarily going to come this week against the Packers because the Packers defense can be frisky.
Yeah.
But I think there's enough here for the Cardinals to pull up a bit of an upset win against the Packers because they do have the ability to run the ball very well.
Yeah.
With Connor, they don't, and that's the other thing. They draft Trey Benson and don't really use him that much.
James Conner's keeping him on the bench, bro. You don't want to lose his spot.
It's like they go to James Conner and he's like, Gannon's like, hey, do you need a break? Like, do you need to sit down? He's like, no.
Trey Benson,
And Trey Benson's like, you see Trey Benson like peeking out from behind Gannon, like around his shoulder, like, I'm here. I can go in for you for a play or two. And James Conner's like, I'm 3,900 years old. I'm not dead. He just puts the helmet back on and he goes back out.
James Conner won a bigger fight than anything else. He beat cancer. So it's so funny. I remember Trey Benson handcuffers. Like, people were drafting Trey Benson, and I was like, I don't know, man. Conner, that guy was good last year. Nah, Chase, you didn't see the game. I'm like, what are you talking about? I watch games because I love Kyler Murray. Like, I saw a lot of Cardinals games, and I saw James Conner rip off 100-yard games, 110-yard game. Like, I'm not crazy. I think Conner might just stay the running back while Benson waits. And people were so convinced Benson is just so much better than James Conner. And Conner, he keeps doing it. He just has these great seasons. Like, it's like crazy how he doesn't get loved as one of the top like 10 running backs in the league. Like, we treat James Conner like he's some like, oh yeah, any team can have a James Conner. It's like, if any team can have a James Conner, please give him to me. I want a James Conner. Like, this guy's a beast. I hate to say it, but he's a really good running back in this league.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what is this weird history. This keeps happening in the NFC West. Well, there will be a running back on the team. The team, because of injury concerns or whatever the case may be, will draft a highly touted running back. Mm-hmm. And Dynasty goes crazy because they're like, we wanted him to go somewhere else. Happened in Seattle. They had K9, then they added Charbonnet. And people were like, oh, Charbonnet should have gone somewhere else because he's such a great running back. And Charbonnet is good. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But, like, he's not challenging Kenneth Walker. That's part of the problem if you have Charbonnet in Dynasty. Then now we've got Conner and Trey Benson. In LA, they had Kyron Williams, and they went and got Blake Corum. And the year before they got Zach Evans, who is now a free agent. Which I was like, that part because I have a on Sleeper, I have a best ball dynasty league. Mm-hmm. And Sleeper, for whatever reason, their website, because I do most of my stuff on the computer, their website is not set up to allow you to make moves and things on the best ball league. I don't know why. So unfortunately, I don't really pay that much attention to that best ball league. Every once in a while, I'll check. And I was looking at it, and I was like, "Oh shit, I do have Zach Evans on this team." I was like, "Why am I not hearing about him as being somebody with Kyron out?" Blake. I looked at it, and I'm like, "They released him." And then my next thought was, so Zach Evans, with zero tread, really, is a free agent, and the Cowboys didn't give him a call. Like, the Cowboys didn't bring him in at least for training camp or anything like that. But that's neither here nor there. But
it's even like the Niners. Remember Trey Sermon, who's now on the Colts, doing well.
Right.
It was the same thing. He got drafted. Everyone was saying, "Oh, he's going to take over." And then Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert were like, "No, it's our team." Yeah, and then when one of those guys would get hurt, oh yeah, man, it's Trey Sermon season. Then they would grab up the corpse of who was that Atlanta running back that was really, really fast, would always spell for Devonta Freeman. What was his name? I can't remember his name, but he was really, really fast.
No, it was Devonta Freeman.
No. It was someone else. They had another really fast running back. They had another one.
Shit. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. He played a lot in the Super Bowl. Like, he was like the best running back for the Super Bowl, that Super Bowl run for the Falcons. He played on the Falcons. Why can't I remember his name? Like, I always got him in Madden. I know they had McKinnon for a little bit too, who went on to be a solid 3-down running back for
Tevin Coleman.
Coleman. Yeah, and then Tevin Coleman will come in, and then you're just like, what the fuck? And then and Trey Sermon never got his shots. That's probably Trey Benson. He'll probably be this guy everyone loves, and just because James Conner keeps being really good, and then who knows, maybe they'll draft someone else that's better. And but the thing with the Cardinals, I want to choose them, but they're so Jekyll and Hyde. Every time they have a good win, they come out and they stink the next game. And it's just like, I just like the Packers just a little bit more. I think the Packers defense is a bit better. Like, I love the Cardinals upset. Like, trust me, this is the hardest game for me. I was literally just like, man, I don't know who to choose in this game. And then ultimately I was looking at the box scores, and like every single time it never fails. Oh man, I love the Cardinals. Kyler, see, he's proving people wrong. My boy, Kyler Murray. Stop with this Call of Duty talk. I mean, we have to be afraid. Call of Duty season is upon
That's
us,
true.
and Kyler, that's where the sticks really matter for Kyler Murray. He got his money. He's good. He's set for life.
Did you see that opening
Oh,
touchdown run from him?
yeah,
The
of
fact that he
course.
was waving goodbye when he still had like 30 yards to go, I was like, this man trusts his legs. And he
No,
just yes.
Kyler. Dude, like Kyler Murray is just like he's not the best. I know he's not the best quarterback. He's my favorite next to like Will Levis to watch. Will Levis for horrible reasons. Kyler for good reasons. I just love how he just like people say about Lamar and stuff. Like Kyler's doing this almost every other. It's because the Cardinals don't get watched. It's just because like there's like they're like a team that's done shit, but no one really cares about them, and they're always going to be like just average. But Kyler's just like a fun player to watch. Like he's dynamic and stuff. And I honestly think with this roster, they're just like a few pieces away from actually being a really good roster. The only thing they have to worry about is if James Conner all of a sudden falls off a cliff, like and just like it just doesn't play well anymore. But yeah, defensively, I think they're finding their footing there. But yeah, no, I think the Packers they'll win this. Their defense is really good. They force turnovers. Jordan Love has looked very good still, and I think honestly the Packers just find these wide receivers that are just always dynamic and always just do stuff, and you're just like, wow, they got these good players. Where? How? This is annoying, and yeah.
All right. Now we talked about Ravens Commanders as being America's game of the week. But this one is me and Chase's game of the week.
Oh man.
That
How the fuck are we favorites? That's
yo,
that's a Jim Harbaugh effect right there.
when I saw the line, I was like, okay, I'm gonna need Chase to explain to me.
I don't know how we're
I was like,
favored.
I need to remove every single ounce of bias that I fucking have. I was like, somebody needs to explain to me how the Chargers are favored in this. And so my only thought was, and I figured you would know better than me, is Herbert's ankle fixed?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything because like when it's a bye
How are
week,
they
they don't.
favorites?
I don't know that I don't know if Alt's cleared to play. I don't know if Slater's
This is bullshit.
good
What is
to
this
go.
nonsense?
I just think people aren't watching the Broncos, and it's not like we
Oh, no,
face
no, no, no,
similar
no.
teams, so it's just like
If other people thought that the Chargers were the favorite, I would understand. But why is Vegas making the Chargers the favorite? That's what doesn't make sense to me. And if Joe Alt isn't playing, and if it's not Herbert or even a weakened Herbert who can't evade pressure in the pocket, oh boy. I don't know whether to call, because that's the thing now. The first couple weeks, I was like, this is feeling like an Orange Crush 2.0 is what I
yeah.
want to call this defense. But then Sunday happened, and I was like, I don't know if this is a no-fly zone 2.0. It's weird. This defense is just really, really good. It is gnarly how good the Broncos defense is. And they're the number 2 ranked defense right now, I think,
Mm-hmm.
in the league. They're not there when it comes to yardage allowed. For sure. They're number 4 right now because again, the Titans and the Chargers are number 1 and number 2 because they had the bye weeks. But this is a defense that has only allowed 1,350 yards. They've allowed 4 touchdowns. They have 5 interceptions. They've allowed 557 rushing yards, and they've allowed 3 touchdowns on the ground. This is a defense that for sure is playing super, super competitive and putting the offense in the best possible positions that they can, whether that is interceptions, forced fumbles, pick sixes. after what Surtain did on Sunday. That basically, if the Raiders had scored on that possession, the Raiders won the game because it would have been 17-3. And I don't think that the Broncos offense would have really been able to come back from that kind of a deficit, from a 2-score deficit. But man, Broncos are playing so good right now. And Bo Nix is really starting to get comfortable in an NFL offense. There was that. And one thing that I love about it is also the idea that he's willing to accept blame even when it's not his fault. He threw that ball up to Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin should have caught that touchdown. It would have Bo's passing yards would have been damn near 300 passing yards with 3 touchdowns by the end of the day. Just slips through Troy's fingers. And instead of calling out Troy or saying, we got to have a play or whatever, Bo was like, no, that's on me. I had him do something that I shouldn't have had him do. That was part of the argument that he got into it with Peyton because of what the route was supposed to be. And then he goes, and I also overthrew it. And it's like, no, you didn't overthrow it. Everybody could see that was clearly a Troy drop. But he's trying to keep his rookie's confidence high. And he played with him in college, so he knows that Troy's going to catch those passes down the road. But why hurt the guy's confidence if you don't need to? They probably had that conversation off air. So I'm really, I don't want to say proud, but I'm really inspired by what I'm seeing from the Broncos, simply because, as you and I have said, there are more you than me, but there are good coaches that don't have the rosters that they want. And right now, Peyton doesn't have the roster that he wants. But what we're seeing from the Broncos with the roster they do have kind of indicates that once he gets the roster that he wants, this team is going to be really scary dangerous. Now, why I think they can lose this game is because they're going to be missing this guy for the entire year. But friend of the show and Chase's personal friend, Alex Singleton, is by far the best tackler on the team. And the Chargers, whether Joe Alt's there or not, run the ball really damn well.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins has looked revitalized. Gus Edwards has not been used as much, but when he has been used, he's looked good enough to be an RB2 behind Dobbins, or if Dobbins ever went down, to be the guy who steps up. And the Broncos are a little susceptible to the run. What happened in that Raiders game was the Raiders could not get the pass enough, and the Broncos were able to keep scoring just enough or keep pushing just enough that the Raiders couldn't do what they wanted to do, which was stick to the ground game with Madison and Amir Abdullah. And so that's what's got me worried about this one. Not to the point that I understand why the Chargers are considered favorites, but this could easily be one of the lowest scoring out of this slate of games, and that's even with the Titans Colts on here. Because I know Flacco is going to throw the ball.
Dude, both of us can score touchdowns. He'll just throw a bad interception afterwards. Right? He's not that bad. Well, he is that bad, but
but I was really hoping that the Saints would pull some magic out of their ass and beat the Chiefs, so that the Chiefs would be 4-1 and Denver could potentially be 4-2 after this week. But man, if the Broncos win this game, I think they're playoff bound. Not because the Chargers are this, team to beat or anything like that, but because they are stacking wins, and momentum and confidence means a lot. We saw that last year during the Ring of Horsepower run, where it looked as though they just were like, we can beat anybody, and they were until they weren't. But that momentum and that confidence really works in your favor. I'm taking the Broncos on this one. Chase, I don't know if you're necessarily going to take the Chargers or not, but let me hear your thoughts on the state of the Chargers and how you feel about this game.
Yeah, man. A lot of Chargers fans, I personally came this season and I said, you know what? I'm just going to trust Jim. He's a great coach. He is a winning coach. I normally get upset. I'm normally like hot tempered, but this year I'm just kind of like whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to be too upset about this team and any faults or failures because I know the real situation. Jim Harbaugh came in and adopted a bad roster. They're coming in and they brought in guys, and it's all prove-it contracts for these guys. Christian Fulton, Puna Ford, Gus the Bus, J.K. Dobbins. These are all prove-it guys, and it's like, to me, is this. I think that the Chargers are going to be fine. I think a lot of Chargers fans, it's because, when you have a franchise quarterback, you want that quarterback to be throwing the football. But we said it. To who? Palmer obviously did not step up. And maybe Palmer was a product of the fact that Keenan Allen and Michael Williams were there. And now that he has to be the big boy number one, he's not improving. Quentin Johnston, has proven at least, hey, he may not be the game-changing wide receiver we want him to be. Serviceable number two, though. And Ladd McConkey has had great flashes. Like, I've loved what I've seen out of McConkey a lot. But I don't think he's quite ready to take that leap of being a Cooper Kupp, of being that catch against the Chiefs, so sick. That was a sick catch. Like, McConkey's that guy. Like, where it's like, like down the line, if the Chargers end up being a really good team, where you're just like, oh, it's 3rd and 8, they better find a way to stop McConkey. And like Edelman in years past, would find a way open. And you're just like, how the fuck is this guy was open? And I'll be happy because it'll be on my end. But no, I think the Broncos are just a better team right now than the Chargers. And it's just Chargers fans just need to come to a realization that this is a bad roster, not a good one. A bad roster. So you just have to just sit here and understand, yes, we have Herbert. Yes, you want Herbert to throw for 300 plus yards and do all this stuff. We don't have the team for Herbert to throw for 300 plus yards. He can do it, but it's not like, but the thing is, it's not constructed like that right now. And guys, trust, there's going to be a change soon, but I think the Broncos will win this football game. I think the Chargers and the Broncos will be competitive. I think it'll be a good game. I think Herbert will have his one good throw to Quentin Johnson, and it'll be a touchdown, or his like another sick throw to that. Because Herbert, I think he's looked fine. I don't think Herbert, yes, stat-wise, if you're like a nerd and you look at the stats and you're like, yeah, well, he only has had 170 passing yards. And it's like, do you not see the throws that he's making, though? And honestly, that the one thing with the Chargers is it's just that it's one of those things where it takes time. It takes literally a lot of time for not Gus. Who's our stupid? Is Gus, who's our offensive coordinator? Why am I forgetting his name? Maybe I'm pissed at him already. But it takes time for that offense to develop into
Greg Roman.
this. Yeah, Greg Roman. Yeah. I'm already pissed at him. Yeah, he's on the list. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention another reason why I'm choosing the Seahawks. Brandon Staley, defensive genius. This guy has caught how many bad games? I mean, dude, if you're a Niners fan, you're like, is this what the Chargers went through all these years? Yes, it's what we went through for all these years. But no, I think the Broncos are just a better team. I think Nick's is playing with good confidence. It's going to be a defensive battle. The Chargers' defense is not bad. It's a really good defense. Like, just the way that we swarm. It's like the way that and here's another reason I kind of want the Chargers to be bad. I don't want Jesse Minter to get poached. This motherfucker is going to get poached. I want Jesse Minter as my DC. I wish Jesse Minter wasn't good at. I wish Jesse Minter was like Spags. Can you just be loyal to Harbaugh? Just realize, hey, I want to be a good head coach. I'm just gonna be close to my favorite guy of all time. Can you just be that, man? I absolutely love Jesse Minter. He's so sick on defense, man. Just the blitzes he brings and everything. I'm telling you, I've watched so much Chargers football. I have not seen a team tackle this well since like 2006. Like, normally the Chargers miss tackles and stuff. These boys are tackling. I'm like, what is this? I can't believe it. So yeah, but I think the Broncos, they will win this game, riding off good momentum, 3 in a row. Like, come on. Like, I think it's better. I think they're a better team. I think it's momentum too. Like, Chargers are coming off a frustrating loss to KC. Yeah, they had the bye, but I think the Broncos win.
Here's a bit of an update. So this is from Monday, 5 p.m. Monday. Some Justin Herbert throws from Chargers practice. He's wearing a brace on his right ankle. left tackle Rashawn Slater, Christian Fulton, Jasir Taylor, and Dean Leonard all working off to the side. Don't see Joey Bosa.
Yeah, Bosa, dude. Honestly, Bosa, I love Bosa, but I'm fine if he walks next year. It's Tuli season, Tuli Patola season. Hey, he's a beast. Tuli's a beast, man. That guy does not get talked about, but he's a stud, and I think now that he gets more reps, you're gonna see it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation. I want to know who do you think who do you think Surtain is guarding? QJ or
Well, he's mostly outside, so probably QJ.
okay.
Yeah, because McConkey's a slot guy. I've seen a lot of Charger snaps. I don't see many where McConkey's lined up on the outside, and when he is, he's just run blocking. He's never he's more like what 8 routes that I've seen outside, but they're all just like a curl. So
yeah, I'm super intrigued, man, because right now
I just don't know how we're favorites like that. I think they just weigh in Herbert. They're just like, oh, it's Herbert. He's better than Bo Nix.
But
Battle of Oregon quarterbacks. Wow.
Battle of the Ducks. But
did you know they faced each other before when Bo Nix was at Auburn? And yeah, and then Justin Herbert was in Oregon, and it was a really good game.
Who won?
And it was so Auburn did. Oregon wasn't that good. This was Oregon was transitioning to being the Oregon that a lot of people know today. This was post Mariota. They didn't know who their quarterback, because Herbert. A lot of people don't realize this. Herbert was a 3-star kid. They didn't think he was going to be any good. They actually were trying to recruit him for baseball, and then he just ended up playing football. And then I think Herbert has thrown a touchdown to that tight end on Miami that's been in college for 9 years or something like that. So
this is the thing that confuses me about the favoring. Broncos not that great against tight ends. Chargers don't really have a tight end.
Yeah, no, Disley stinks.
Broncos
he's a good run blocker.
Broncos really good at generating pass rush. Chargers maybe without Slater, maybe without Joe Alt.
Joe Alt especially. Joe Alt's been
Broncos really good secondary now, with the first white cornerback catching an interception in 22 years.
Yeah.
Chargers don't really have people to throw to.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's Palmer's been such a disappointment, because you saw the flashes of Joshua Palmer, and now you're saying, okay, he's number one. He's Herbert's got, because there's plays Herbert would trust Palmer instead of the usuals, and Palmer would make these. And we can't say Palmer has not made big plays for the Chargers. There is a lot of big plays Joshua Palmer has made as a Los Angeles Charger, and he's just I get he's been hampered with injuries and stuff, but you expect a lot better. In my Madden Dynasty, he's been good. He's been good in my franchise mode. Him and McConkey, the best ones. QJ's there too. I think he has 500 yards or something. He exists. But yeah, no,
because you're not throwing him on principle.
No, I do throw to him when he's open. When he's not open, I don't throw to him. He doesn't go for the football. What can I say?
But turning from the Broncos and the Chargers, which will be near and dear to our hearts, maybe not America's hearts, but our hearts, we turn to a game that involves a team that is close to a large percentage of NFL fans' hearts, because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Allegiant Stadium, traveling to the desert, traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders, who are reeling after their loss to the Broncos. This was a drubbing by the Broncos on Sunday. That defense had its way with the Raiders offense. Pat and Riley Moss combined to get, by their powers combined, forced the benching of Gardner Minshew for Aiden O'Connell, who then also threw an interception to Pat Surtain. But the Raiders offense is super duper one-dimensional right now. And I don't know if that was just a function of how the game script went for the Broncos, for that Broncos game, but they are sorely missing Devontae Adams. And if Devontae Adams was even thinking of potentially returning to playing for the Raiders, he probably made up his mind after watching Sunday. And that's even with Robert Saleh getting fired and that whole situation there that the Jets have. Because the Raiders, man, it sucks. Like I almost feel bad for them because they go from playing the second best defense, arguably, in the NFL to another top 10, arguably top 5 defense. The Steelers are coming to town, and the Steelers are bringing a defense that is pissed off. There is no way if anybody tried to tell me that the Steelers, especially the defense, isn't pissed off after what happened against the Cowboys, I wouldn't believe them because the Steelers should have won that game. Now, granted, you can argue that the Steelers are like, well, it was the offense that caused us to lose the game because it was a late Justin Fields interception. Sure. But at the same time, the Steelers know that if they had stopped the Cowboys offense, which they had been doing the entire game and limiting the Cowboys when it came to points, that Justin had enough in the tank to lead them to victory. Now, what's really interesting is the Steelers are at a bit of a crossroads when it comes to that offense because they have said that Russell Wilson is healthy. He can play. Right now, he's the emergency quarterback, the third QB3, but I would assume that he would get a full, clean bill of health by the time that this game happens on Sunday. We're talking about this on Tuesday night. The question is, do they switch to Russell Wilson? Now, the team, there are many people on the team that really love Justin Fields. There's a certain energy that he brings. There's a certain youthfulness that he brings. Russ is an old man. And historically, and with quite infamously, has an issue with relating to people in general and relating to people who are younger than him. But sometimes the team has to do what makes sense for them, right? Not necessarily what makes sense for the players. The players have to learn to, deal with and live with whatever the coaches decide. I don't know if Tomlin's going to make the switch to Justin Fields. I don't think he should, which is a weird thing to say because the Raiders are beatable.
Yeah.
As proved by Bo Nix and the Broncos defense. But the Raiders are going to be playing pissed off as well because they know they should have won that game against the Broncos. They were the favored team. The Broncos were the underdogs. Now they get to have a home game with the their house with the Steelers coming to town. Man, the Steelers offense has at times looked decent, but also looked atrocious. This offense really is just Najee Harris. It's Najee Harris and Justin Fields running. That's it. Because Fields his limitations are clear as a passer. He's going to get you a couple deep balls, but his intermediate route throwing is not good. He can do short passes and he can do deep balls, which interestingly enough is the exact same skill set in 2024 of Russell Wilson. He can get you some moon balls and he can make short routes and behind the line of scrimmage throws. I don't know whether or not Tomlin is going to hand the baton from Fields to Russell. This one is a weird game for me to pick because I understand why the line is so close because both teams are going to be playing pissed off. The question is which team is going to be playing more pissed off. I trust coaching, similar to you. And which is weird because you would have thought last week Tomlin better coach than McCarthy, but things broke slightly enough for the Cowboys last week. I don't think that the things break slightly enough for Antonio Pierce this time around. Pierce just looks like he is losing control of that team, and that like Max Crosby bless your heart, buddy, because you really did try, and I thought that video was hilarious where he got up in Bo's face. During I don't know if you saw it. There was
Yeah,
yeah, and he's like, Bo, you gotta speak up. They can't hear you. Hey, you really tried, and all kudos in the world. I absolutely hate you because of how good you are.
yeah.
And it's annoying,
No, yeah, he's
but
so good. It's stupid. Why do the Raiders have this generational pass rusher? Fuck.
but I'm trusting Tomlin to figure a way to coach this team up because the whole joke about Tomlin and good records, bad records, like he never has a losing season. Pittsburgh is 3-2. They've won 3, they've lost 2. It's now time for them to get back to 500 so that they can win a couple more, so that they can lose a couple more. It's like right on schedule for them to pick up a good win against the Raiders before they turn around week 7 to face the Jets. But what do you think about this one?
Yeah, it's just the thing is with the Russell Wilson and Justin Fields debate. Honestly, do you want to have your receivers happy and make it where George Pickens looks like the player that he's supposed to be? Or are you okay with just this mediocrity of an offense? And honestly, I would trust Russell Wilson a lot more. And I would trot him out there. You signed him for a reason. You picked him up when no one else wanted him. I think Wilson, the one thing he will do is he will force the situation and throw the football deep and make defenses honest. I think he will help Najee Harris a lot more because it's just too predictable what they're going to be doing to Steelers. The offense is very, very predictable with Arthur Smith and Justin Fields because of Fields' limitations. And Fields has a prime opportunity. No 2-star pass rushers for the Cowboys. Should have had plenty of time in the pocket, take his time, be able to. And granted, yes, that offensive line has gotten beat up for the Steelers. Like they're missing a lot of key dudes up there. But man, when the guys that are on the offensive line, I think they're tackles, their only really good guy that they were missing. When you're missing Michael Parsons, who some say is like top 2 when it comes to defensive players in the fucking league, and then DeMarcus Lawrence, who on his own right is a top 10 edge rusher, and if not a top 20 defensive player in the league, you should be taking advantage of the fact that you're going to be able to run outside, do a lot, and Fields didn't take advantage of that. And I don't know, you're going against a pissed off Raiders team, but like I said, Tomlin's a better coach. Antonio Pierce is he's just not a good head coach. Maybe he's a good guy coach for like a positions coach, like he's there to be with the boys. But as a head coach, he's not one of those guys that I trust operating that team because we went from Devontae Adams loving this guy to now he can't wait to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Max Crosby seems like he's losing faith in this guy, and that's not good with the Raiders, where it just seems like every single guy they bring in is just like, what will make you guys happy? Like, what will make you guys happy? Oh, I don't know. Maybe you draft a franchise quarterback. That'll make you happy because that's what really solves a lot of bad coaching issues. But I think I got the Steelers winning this one as well. But I do think that Russell Wilson should get an opportunity. I think after seeing what you saw from Fields and teams are getting more tape and they're seeing like, oh, this could work, this could work, this could work. I'd rather trot out Russell Wilson, who I know can at least pull 2 games out of the year, the vintage Russell Wilson game where he just looks good. Like, I'm not saying every game, but at least 2 games. 2 games out of the year, Russell Wilson will look really, really good.
And yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of those games started coming for the Broncos right around this time, right around towards the end of October. I mean, we're in the beginning of October, but it's when Russell started heating up for Denver, the Ring of Horsepower run. But there's another quarterback that finds himself in October. It's Kirk Cousins. Kirktober is here. Kirktober is here.
Yeah.
And man, he was wheeling and dealing on Thursday Night Football against the Buccaneers. 58 pass attempts, 42 completions, 509 yards, and 4 touchdowns. There's no way the Buccaneers were like, yeah, Kirk's gonna have like that kind of a game. I can't even fault the Buccaneers for losing because it was like this guy just he went to the bank, pulled out some Coles cash, did what that man did. Did what that man did. But here they get to go to Carolina.
Do we really have to like break down the Panthers? Like we know they stink. Like why are we trying to give Panthers some hope? These guys stink.
No. I'll give them credit where credit is due. Deontay Johnson and Chuba Hubbard are really trying hard.
Chuba Hubbard, man, this guy he is first team all try hard this year. Like same with Deontay Johnson. He's like saying, hey man, contract year for me.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a contract. Like, he's auditioning for his next team. He's saying, guys, see the effort I put for the Panthers? This sorry ass squad? Y'all need me. I'm still good.
You know what's the craziest part of this to me is that as good as Chuba Hubbard is, a part of me is like, this team could actually be competitive if Jonathan Brooks was playing and was playing the way people say Jonathan Brooks will play when he is playing. I'm like, and the thing is, he's supposed to be back soon. So not back, but he's supposed to be starting soon.
I have a really hot take. I think Brooks will end up better than Bijan.
You think so?
Yeah,
Bijan has not. For one of my dynasty teams.
I mean, Bijan has just. He's not the same He's not the same player he was in college. Like,
no, it doesn't. I don't know what it is. It's not whether it's they're not using him properly or what. They finally started throwing a Kyle Pitts the foul. See what I'm saying? There is a way to break this down.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts. He's a perfect example. No, it's just like the thing with Kirk is we could talk about the Falcons. I don't think we like the Panthers. We know it's like their ass. They have Chuba Hubbard. And they have Deontay Johnson. And Adam Thielen, when he's back, he's good. But I think Kirk Cousins showed this is why the Falcons paid for him. This is what you want from Kirk Cousins. This is why the Falcons are that good sleeper team. Like the defense, the one issue is still no pass rush. Like they don't know how to get to a quarterback. They haven't been able to get to the quarterback since Jonathan fucking Abrams was playing for that team. Abraham, the Predator. That was his nickname. He was a badass. He was so good. They traded for Judon, who you said, hey, he's past his prime a little bit, but can still play good. He's always been a really good player. He still can't get to the court. It's like this team cannot find a pass rush, and that will hurt them in the long run. But, man, dude, it's like you have Darnell Mooney making contested catches. You have freaking Ray-Ray McCloud wearing Walter Payton's number, looking like a good slot receiver. Drake London, we know he's good. And this Hodges kid, he seems like he's going to get more run, too. And the thing is, if they can just figure out what they're doing wrong with Bijan, what they're doing wrong with Pitts, and they get that running game going, like Algier and Bijan, that's a frustrating two-back tandem right there. And then Kyle Pitts, we saw a matchup nightmare. This guy can literally be like, I'm not saying Pitts needs to score touchdowns. You just got to get him the ball. You got to get him the football. And you saw when you get him the football, it causes the linebackers to say, I can't cheat.
So annoyed in one of my few redraft leagues because I took Kyle Pitts early. And then I said, you know what? In the off chance that Kyle Pitts is not, this is not the time. I'm going to try to cover my ass and take Brock Bowers. And this past week, I started I've not been able to figure out which one to start because it's like, is this going to be the Pitts game? It should on paper. So I put Bowers in there and I had Pitts on the bench, and Pitts ends up with 15.9 in PPR, and I was like, son of a.
No, I don't think you will see that for Bowers.
I was like, I fully understand that Denver has a tough time guarding tight ends. I get that, but I don't think Bowers is going to have 15.9. There's who else is going to be able to cause the distractions? And then that touchdown play happens in the first drive. And I was like, okay, on the one hand, I'm very frustrated because it's the Broncos. On the other hand, he could have a really good game. So this could be interesting. I don't know how when it comes to this. And he had a great game. He had 23 something in full PPR. And the Broncos won. So it was best of both worlds for me. And it helped me have the highest points total for the week. So I got $25 back from the buy-in. So I was like, all right, let's, we're rolling. We're rolling.
Yeah, no, but the Falcons, they should win this game. Guys, I'm sorry, Panthers fans. unless you guys do something to shock us, I think we're just going to talk about your opponents and just say, oh, Chuba Hubbard, 92 yards, John, cool. Deontay Johnson, 83, 1 TD, nice. So
Okay.
that's the much Panthers coverage you're going to get from us. I can't talk about shitty teams for too long. I'm just like, we are not going to spend 20 minutes on the Carolina fucking Panthers and talk about, well, they're showing some progression. There's no progression. This team is like in a fucking wasteland of just mediocrity that they're just sitting there. It's just like did you ever play Pokemon, John? Have you ever played Pokemon?
Yeah.
It's like that one Pokemon. You didn't, like, when you play the games, you don't know which Pokemon are good. You caught this one Pokemon because you say, this guy's gonna be a star of my team. He just never gets better. He dies every time. He's always getting poisoned. He's always getting paralyzed. He's just always as you're walking to Pokemon Center. Ba-da-dun, 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 and then you're just what?
Actually, there's a great analogy here, because the Panthers, once they have Dalton, Deontay, Thielen, Chuba, and Brooks, they could actually be a team, right? Like, they could be somebody spicy, right? And here's the analogy. It was when the first time you were playing Pokemon and you caught a Magikarp.
Well, I was an idiot and I bought one for $500 at the Pokemon.
Okay, well, or even better.
The guy sold
one
me
for $500. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, because the guy was like, and doing absolutely nothing. But if you put that guy out there and you get enough seasoning on him, and he hits level 20, and Thielen's there, and Deontay is there, and Brooks and Hubbard.
You know what the Panthers are? They're like
the Gyarados.
No, the Panthers are like your Jigglypuff, and you didn't know how to evolve this stupid thing. You just had Jigglypuff because you thought it was cute or something, and you're just like, dude, this Jigglypuff keeps dying. It sucks. It's almost like some kid told you, oh yeah, you just have to get a Moonstone. I was like, what? That's it? I just get this idiot a Moonstone and then he becomes somewhat decent? Okay. That's what the Panthers are. We're just trying to figure out how to get them out of mediocrity. It's like those Jigglypuffs.
Jonathan Brooks is a Moonstone.
Yeah. Jonathan Brooks hopefully makes him a Wigglytuff. Like, or it's like those traded Pokemon where you just had like besides Kadabra and Haunter, they were still good. But you had like Golem and Grappler. And you're just like, bro, this guy stinks too. He keeps dying. Oh, if I trade you, we get Golem. What? Tell me. Yeah, you had to trade? Or like Onyx in the second year, or like Onyx stunk. But if you found a way to give him something and then traded him, he became Steelix and he was a badass. I love Steelix, one of my all-time faves. He was always so clutch for me in those. When I figured out how to farm Metal Coats, Steelix and Scizor, I didn't use any other fucking Pokemon. I just had those two assholes. They couldn't get poison. I hate poison. I literally hate poison with a burning passion. And the fact that steel resists poison, I'll always choose a steel type just because I'm like, you do not get poisoned. I don't have to worry about going to no damn. They fixed it in later games, but yeah, no, that's what the Panthers are. They're just that shitty Pokemon on your team, and you just want it to do something. You say, you know what? I'm going to send it out against this trainer. It's going to do something, and then it faints. Then you're just like, all right, go out there, Charizard. Go fucking do the job Jigglypuff couldn't do. Like, seriously.
If let's close out the afternoon slate, because with these teams on bye, if nobody told you anything, like when the games were, you would expect Denver Broncos, Los Angeles Chargers. That's an afternoon game. No, it's not. It's actually a morning game.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
I hate when the NFL does this. Shit ton of morning games, 3 afternoon games. Oh, by the way, only one of them is watchable. The other 2, you're just like, oh god.
And let's talk about this. Let's talk about this watchable one, because we've got the Lions coming out of that bye after ruining Seattle with 42 points to 29. 42-29 was that score. Coming out of the bye, they go up against the Cowboys, who, I kind of feel bad for the Cowboys because they're probably really like feeling themselves after beating the Steelers. They're like, oh yeah, we beat that Steelers defense. Steel curtain. We beat them. And it's like, okay, but now you got to face the Lions, and it's like, a part of you is just like that win against the Steelers right now in the moment. It's like, yeah, they won. But if you're a Cowboys fan, but in the grand scheme, you're like, oh, this is why, weeks from now, they're going to say to themselves, this is why we're going to have a high draft pick. We should have just lost or tried to lose that game to the Steelers, because the Lions are clicking on so many different cylinders. Yes, they have taken they have taken some losses. Of course, every team does, but they are now going to get a chance to keep their season rolling. They took that loss. What was it? Yeah, Buccaneers. That one that they should not have lost. Actually, all the games that they have played, that they should have won. They've won. They have almost completed a sweep of the NFC West. They beat the Rams, they beat the Cardinals, they beat the Seahawks. Now they are taking their talents from the West to, technically it's South, but they're taking it to the East to face off against the Cowboys. And this one is, on paper, should be really good.
Oh yeah.
Because I still don't know whether Lawrence and Parsons are going to be back. I don't think they are. And if they're not,
that Parsons ankle injury looked, because his shit swelled up so bad.
Yeah.
I remember we were watching live and I said, dude, look at his foot. It's like a balloon right now. Like,
if
I know
Micah
Parsons is a freak of nature, but I don't
Woo!
know if he's healing like that.
If Micah Parsons and Dexter Lawrence are not back, fire up your Monty and Gibbs parlays. Fire up the yardage for these guys.
Already put them on touchdowns.
because man, they proved, because the Seattle defense isn't that great, but the Seattle defense is decent. Like, it's decent. And they proved that they don't even really need Jared Goff to do anything.
Yeah.
He can just hand that ball to Monty and Gibbs. 3 touchdowns between the two of them. Well over 100 yards between the two of them. And that's before Amon-Ra St. Brown comes into play. That's before Sam Laporta. That's before they said, you know what? We lost Josh Reynolds. J-Mo, you're going to be playing a lot more. How Seattle was not able to force an incompletion against Jared Goff, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
He will definitely have some incompletions here because that's just an insane pace to keep up. But this one is going to be fun because I want to see CeeDee Lamb go up against this Lions defense, because the Lions defense from a passing perspective has started to look better, but then there was that game against Seattle in week 4. So I'm thinking to myself, Lions, I want to see what adjustments you made during the bye week. And then I want to see if CeeDee Lamb can overcome these, because in my mind, yes, they are starting to use Rico Dowdle a lot more, and he has taken the RB1, like say like RB 1.5 role from Zeke. But if they can't get CeeDee Lamb going, Jalen Tolbert, I appreciate the fact that you caught that touchdown after getting the shit knocked out of you in that Steelers game. But all due respect, sir, you are not enough to stop the Lions offense to be able to keep up punch for punch. I'm taking the Lions in this one.
Yeah. Do you think the Lions will try to do the trick play that they got called back on the last time they played the Cowboys and make sure that the tackle is eligible this time? Like, I feel like they are. Like, this is like, honestly, after watching the Lions more, the only team that will beat the Detroit Lions this year is themselves. If they decide to get too cute or do anything stupid, they're a good football team this year. I thought they were going to have a step back because it's the Lions. Like, why should I be excited about the Detroit Lions? Like, they're the Detroit Lions. They always don't live up to the expectations, and they're living up to the expectations set in front of them as being. And look, I know it's crazy to say, but I'm going to say it. They're the best team in the NFC. Yes, I know Minnesota's undefeated. I don't care. I think the Lions right now, as it stands on paper, best team in the NFC.
That's not a. I wouldn't argue with you.
Some people argue, but like, they take that Cardinal, but that Cardinals loss is really because the Lions almost beat themselves. The Rams lost, same thing. Terry and Arnold just needs to stop holding and stop causing pass interferences every fucking play. That's going to cost them. But yeah, no, offensively, like they have the firepower, they have the positions to stay in games and come back in games. That's what I need to see is the Lions do like a huge comeback to see how they handle that, because that always helps me a little bit more than just like, oh, you're a good team and you kicked ass and all the other things. So yeah, but I think the Lions definitely will win this game. The Cowboys obviously missing some players. Lions are missing some players too. We don't know if not Taylor Decker, the center Frank Ragnow. We don't know if he's
Yeah.
100%. So that, and Frank Ragnow, one of the most underrated players in the league. No one talks about him because he's an offensive lineman. But besides Jason Kelsey, I think Ragnow has been one of the best centers. It's between him and Creed Humphrey at this point. Which one you like more? But I like Ragnow a lot, and I think he is someone that you can't understate the value going against a good defense in the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys, they obviously have depth. We saw that in the Steelers game. They draft well, they sign players well. Defensively, they have depth. Offensively is their main issue. Like you said, can Daldo pick up where he left off against a really good Steelers defense and have a good rushing attack against this Detroit Lions team? Can Jalen Tolbert step up again, or if Tolbert's not able to go because I think he has testicular torsion or something. We don't know how serious that injury is. Yeah, so because like the Cowboys very predictable that you gotta force CeeDee Lamb the ball, but it's hard to force CeeDee Lamb the ball when three guys are zoned up in his area, or it's a man-to-man and the safety is just hovering over him, waiting for Dak to overthrow that ball. So
speaking of centers out or potentially being out, one thing that not to spend too much time, but going back to the Broncos Chargers, one thing that may be the reason why the Chargers are favored is because they're anticipating Joey Bosa playing, and Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, the Broncos O-line took a couple hits during the Raiders. And they may be thinking, they meaning Vegas, may be thinking if Chargers are able to get the pressure, Bo can make mistakes. That may be the issue there. And they're thinking Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr. They can get some picks here and there.
Do you want a cool Justin Herbert stat?
Go for it.
He's undefeated when his defense has not let up 20 or more points. So if like the defense holds a team below 20 points or at 20 points, he's undefeated.
Yeah. And Broncos are averaging around like I think 18, 19 points per game.
Yeah, right? This is a math. They're using math for these odds. Like, they're like, oh well, Pro Football Focus told me. Yeah, they're doing that. That's what they do for these odds. They use math.
But let's turn from a team in the NFC that, as you said, really can only be defeated by themselves, to a team in the AFC that can really only be defeated by themselves and has proven that they can and will lose to themselves, in the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Football Giants. Giants coming off of a bit of a surprise win against the Seattle Seahawks, a game that they played without Devin Singletary, without Malik Neighbors. Neighbors should be back as far as we know because it was a concussion, and it was suffered 10th on October 3rd. This game is not going to be played until October what am I thinking here? October 13th. So 10 days, you would hope that he's able to actually no more than that, because it was from when that concussion was suffered. But one would hope that he will be able to be in the game for the Giants because he is sorely missed. Yes, the Giants were able to get the job done without Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson stepped up. Darius Slayton absolutely stepped up. But it's not a sustainable offense. You need Neighbors in that lineup for the Giants to let him get killed again. But the Bengals, my God, if this is not the strongest 1-4 team, at least on offense, that we have seen, I don't know. Everybody is playing well on their offense now. Zach Moss, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Everybody's playing. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. The Bengals defense, though, is like, oh, so we can just go to sleep. We just take a break. Joe Burr is going to be able to handle this for us. And Joe Burr is like, I mean, yeah, I can win the game, but at the same time, it'd be nice if I didn't have to win the game. If you guys would do something for me, if you guys would help me out. And Burrow in that post-game press conference said, we are not playing like a playoff team. We are not playing like contenders for AFC championships, for Super Bowl berths. We are not playing like that. And we have to figure out how to get there. And I think we all know that he's talking about the defense without talking about the defense. If the Bengals defense can show up, the Bengals win this game without a problem. That's why the line is the way it is, because the Giants' offense is not as capable as the Ravens' offense. But if the Bengals' defense allows what happened to the Seahawks to happen, this is a much closer game, which is an insane thing to say. The Bengals should put the like if the Bengals if this was like a 38-17 win, it would make absolute sense. But this could also easily be a 38-35 win or a 38-35 loss. I could see it going multiple ways. It's almost perfect for Sunday night, because if the Bengals win and do so in decisive fashion, they launch back up into playoff-worthy contention of having that conversation about them, particularly if the Steelers lose, particularly if the Commanders pull some magic, some Jaden Daniels, offensive rookie of the year, potential league MVP magic. If things like that happen, Bengals winning this game is primed to get them back into that conversation. I'm trusting Joe Burrow to say he can beat the Giants and do enough between how his offense moves, between using Zach Moss to be able to win this game. But if we go to a tale of the coaches, if we say Daboll versus Zach Taylor, I kind of would give the edge to Daboll at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. The thing about this game that's interesting is that the Giants' pass rush has woken the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Thibodeau and Burns have just been looking really good the last few weeks, and I think that's what mainly won them the game, is the fact that the pass rush and the defense stepped up big against the Seahawks. Like the Geno didn't have time to throw the ball, and that's the thing. When your offensive linemen are always doing pass sets, it gets tiring. It is more tiring pushing backwards, trying to stop a guy, than trying to run a guy over.
Right.
So for me, I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think. And I'm all about primetime madness. I want the Danny Dimes memes. I cannot wait until the New York Football Giants come in at home, upset the Bengals. And people are like, oh, and it'll be vintage Bengals. Joe Burrow will play great. I'm not saying Joe Burrow is going to be the reason why they lose. They're going to lose because this defense, Lou Arumno, who all I've heard from Bengals fans, one of the best in the league, probably better than Spags, blah, 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 blah. This guy has stunk this season. Absolutely horrible. Pass rush is not getting home. Hendrickson and Hubbard have kind of regressed. Your corners have regressed. Your safeties are not good. Your defensive tackles non-existent. Your linebackers besides Pratt, all ass. I hate to say it, it's just this Bengals defense is going to be the reason why this tremendous Bengals offense is not going to succeed. And it's sad because I look at that game, and if you told me the stats of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I'm going to be like, oh, Bengals won, right? No, they lost. Oh, they lost. Oh, okay. Wow. How? Like, and it's because this defense will give the team, like we saw this on Monday Night Football with Jaden Daniels. This was supposed to be, oh, poor rookie Daniels. He's got to go against the Bengals. And then Jaden Daniels came in and looked great and stuff. And it's like, to me, Danny Dimes, he always have these weird streaks throughout the season too. there'll be like 3 weeks where people change their opinion on Daniel Jones, and they'll be like, "Ah, oh, see, he's great. They got something here." And it's like, guys, it's only 3 weeks. After that, he's going to go back down to earth, and this could be the potential of Daniel Jones going back down to earth, just a smidge, just a little bit. But I think he will pull another wonderful upset, and one that Bengals fans are going to be like, fire Taylor, all this other stuff. So honestly, you should probably be looking at Lou and Rumno and just saying, maybe you're not this great defensive wizard we thought you were, because they're underperforming. Like, how did you do good with Eli Apple, like as a cornerback, and freaking Cam Taylor-Britt looks like a scrub?
Let me see something.
I love this game, man. It's no Ravens and Commanders, but I see Joe Burr, my Bengals. I'll play for the Bengals. You know that, Mike? Yes, Chris, we know. Man, Daniel Jones, man, he's just playing free, man. Malik Neighbors, is he healthy? Does he know what state he's in right now, Mike? I know I'm in New York.
It's pretty. I mean, it's really interesting because like the Bengals defensive staff, not that great. Like the other people behind the defensive coordinator. Yeah, like I mean, it's not that great.
Coaching matters, all levels. But yeah, I just think I am predicting the two teams everyone thinks should lose, just pulling off massive upsets, and then everyone's like, "Oh, what the fuck is that?" We have to have a weird week in the NFL. Too many favorites have been winning lately. Let's have the fun upset week. I'm all for it, you know. But I think this Bengals team could win, but it's just more of the fact that, like, I just think their defense is just like, come on, like the only team that you stepped up. And let's just be real. We were saying that the Panthers had positive progression with this Bengals, with the Bengals. Like, that was a good loss for the Panthers. That should show you, like, the Panthers had a chance to be in that game at some point in time. It's just this Bengals defense is not producing what the Bengals offense is going. And I think by the time they figure it out, it'll just be too late. It'll be too late for this team. And that's the sad thing, because it's like we're wasting an MVP career year for Joe Burrow right now. Like, the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because like I'm really interested if Malik Neighbors plays. If Malik Neighbors plays, man, this Bengals defense could get torched.
Yeah, Bondale's a great number 2. Shepard has stepped up, so
yeah.
Or Slayton, whatever the two they kept.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
they're the same guy. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Are they the same player? Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, they're the same guy, right?
And it could be a situation where the Giants finally get production from their tight ends because of it. Like
Theo had a pretty solid game.
Yeah, but like
he had good yardage.
But like they, I mean, to be fair, he's being unfortunately put into the position of having to replace Darren Waller, who, when Darren Waller was on, was really good.
Did I ever tell you my Darren Waller story?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, so I went to AEW Double or Nothing. This is a wrestling thing event a couple years ago, and I was in the suite area, and so the suite tickets were really cheap, surprisingly. And so I was like, "Fuck it, a suite in Vegas. This sounds badass." It was badass. So when I went to the bartender, he was all like, "Hey, man, Darren Waller just came by." I'm like, "Oh, the football tight end?" He goes, "Yeah." And I was confused because I thought Darren Waller quit drinking and stuff. And he goes, "No, he was just trying to get some waters and stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then afterwards, Waller comes out and he goes, "Hey, man." He goes, "Hey, man, you got those waters ready?" Because he was dating that Las Vegas Aces player at the time, where they were married. I can't remember the whole situation. But so then afterwards, they got them those mini fucking waters, like those mini waters. And so then afterwards, it was like, damn, bro, this is like the main tight end for the Vegas. And he needed help carrying the mini waters. And so my drunk ass said, "Hey, man, I got you." And then he goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah." So then I'm helping Darren Waller on the his suite was on the other side.
Oh, wow.
Probably him and his girlfriend, I think. Like they just rented it out. Like, I don't know if he was a big wrestling fan. I didn't get to talk to him, but I remember helping him with the waters. And then Darren Waller gave me $100. And then later on, I shook his hand and I walked out. And then I just said, damn, I didn't ask for a picture. And then I just walked away. But I got $100 from Darren Waller.
There
So
you go.
it was pretty cool, those games. But yeah, they told me Waller was a cool guy, so I have nothing bad to say. But that's my Darren Waller story. Yeah, met him in Las Vegas. I don't know if he still watches AEW. Don't keep up with Mr. Darren Waller, but yeah, I like watching him play though. He was
He's
damn
busy,
good player.
he's busy making music, but a team that is hopefully, at least they hope, going to be making music now that they have a different maestro is the New York Jets. Because as we started at the top of this episode of Tru Picks, we talked a little bit about the Robert Saleh firing, and now they get to host the Buffalo Bills. Short turnaround for MetLife. They got Sunday Night Football and then Monday Night Football in that stadium. But the Bills are coming to town, division rival, and it's kind of primed for a weirdly good game.
Christian Wilkins got put on IR recently. So
that sucks for him. Not for the Raiders, because fuck the Raiders, but that sucks for him. But the division rival game here, Jets and Bills. Now they got to host the Bills, and it's primed for an interesting game because there is historically that bounce up game after they fire a head coach.
Yeah.
Bills are also playing pissed off because they thought they should have won that Texans game. Bills really need to find somebody. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about Shakir's injury status, but even if he's playing, Josh has playmakers, but they're not playmakers like that. They got to find someone to be able to get the ball to, because it cannot be the James Cook, Josh Allen show. It can be if you're up already and you got to kill time, but Kincaid has to step up. They have to be able to get Keon Coleman in space because they tried, but he got covered too well. And so it's one of those things that, this the offensive coordinator, you kind of revitalized the team after Dorsey got fired, but you got to pull some tricks out of your hat right now. And you knew that coming into the season because you knew that you didn't have Stephon Diggs. You knew you didn't have that person. They trusted you to figure this out with just Shakir, Coleman, Kincaid, Knox. And it's like you have people on this offense, not world beaters, but you have people. And Allen is a capable enough quarterback to get the ball to these people. Can you scheme them open? You have a pissed off Bills. You got a pissed off Jets. The line is a lot closer. But for me, I think the Jets are finally done with wasting the last bit of time that Aaron Rodgers has, because the Jets also have a pretty good record against Josh Allen and the Bills.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget, week 1 of last year was Jets and Bills. Aaron tears gets the injury on the 4th snap of the offensive snap of the game. Jets still win the game. Granted, it's a kickoff return that wins them the game, but they were able to contain Josh Allen when he did have Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
So can they do it again when he doesn't have Stephon Diggs, when they're reeling from that loss to the Texans? I think they can, and it's a sneaky opportunity for them to get a win and kind of get right, because they have the ability, if they get this win over the Bills, if they're able to figure out the rest of the season, get back on track, this win, having this in the back pocket, divisional, perfect for them.
I'm with you. I think the Jets, they're happy Saleh's gone. They're like, you know what? Brand new team. It's Rodgers. It's Rodgersville. Rodgers on a primetime Monday night against a team that's struggling. I love this matchup for Aaron Rodgers. Look, I like Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's still a good quarterback. But I think the Jets, they're a better team than the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, you can only get so far by testing things out, trying to figure things out, and especially middle of the season where it's like kind of we're getting closer to that halfway point. And if you haven't found your guys, and losing Shakir was, it shows like how much he was important to that offense and what they can do, because they don't have anyone else that can replicate what he brings in the route running aspect. Like, sure, you have guys that can burn like Curtis Samuel. Sure, you have a guy like Keon Coleman that can make contested catches. But when you don't have that good old route runner like Khalil Shakir that can just get open, find little spaces in the zone, kind of knows where Josh Allen likes to throw to. It hurts like Kincaid, very athletic tight end. He's still a little bit raw as a prospect to get to that level of like the next Gronkowski, as people were labeling as, which I don't understand. Why do we have to label every good white tight end as Gronkowski? Like, there's only one Gronk. Like, Gronk was a freak of nature of all freak of natures. Like, dude could be a Hunover and still put up 150 yards. Crazy. James Cook, very good running back, exceptional running back, and he's still taking his time learning to read the holes, when to burst and the usage of him, and then also they have that other running back that they like a lot as well. So it's going to take time for you to figure it out, but you got to figure it out. But while the Jets, this is a game where it's like I feel like they're going to win. I think this is the Breece Hall resurgence game. All these Breece.
I was going to say him and Braylon Allen. I don't know if the Bills can actually contain them the way that Minnesota and Denver were able to.
Yeah, because I think Breece Hall. It's like all these Breece Hall owners that are worried about him. Don't be like, stop. Like, this is why running backs is one of the most frustrating positions in fantasy, because you only look at the yards and the touchdowns, and you don't realize like there's a lot of other things that go into it. I think Breece Hall will finally be unlocked, per se. They'll use him in the passing game like Rodgers wants him to, because Breece Hall is a really, really good football player, and he has a nose for the end zone. I don't think you have to worry about Breece Hall as much. I think Breece Hall will be totally fine as a football player, and I think this will help him out because now Rodgers is in control of the offense. I don't think they get Devontae Adams this week, maybe next week or something. So,
yeah, it's a weird situation because you would think that there's got to be something that gives with the Breece Hall, Braylon Allen situation. Whether that is, Breece is just washed, which I don't think he is. Like, I've made the joke to Romeo, but like I don't think Breece Hall is washed at all. But like Braylon Allen should be able to, if Breece can't, that's why you drafted Braylon Allen. And Breece should, but like that's your break glass in case of emergency kind of situation. And it should be one of the best 1-2 punches in the league because of how good Braylon Allen has appeared in the past weeks 1 through 3. So it's going to be interesting. Monday night is going to be a fun one. So last week we talked about our parlays of the week, and yeah. I don't know if Derrick Henry, because I think they had Derrick Henry penciled for like 80 yards, and I remember you said over Stephon, under Henry,
yeah,
and there was something else,
Walker touchdown, which I don't think Walker got his touchdown.
Yeah. But I think Breece was not Breece. Derek was under. I think he ended up under yardage wise. But do we have anything we're thinking of for this one? Let's see if we can pick. Let's see if we can pick out three things.
My favorite thing here: Jalen Hurts over interceptions. Whatever his interception total is, just put it. This guy loves throwing these things. He just. There's always that
Denzel Ward and Newsom's are going to be like, hey.
No, the safety. Every game, I swear, every Eagles game, Hurts throws it down the middle, and then someone comes up with it. It's just, look, whenever you see Hurts throwing down the middle, you got to hold your breath a little bit. So I like Jalen Hurts over interceptions. I really like that one a lot. For the Bears against this Jaguars, I do like the DeAndre Swift over rushing yards. I think Swift will have a good running game, and not touchdowns, but I can see this being the DeAndre Swift like 100+ rushing yard game. I think he's gonna have a really good, and plus he wears those soccer type cleats. He doesn't wear like the traditional like football cleats. So DeAndre Swift might feel better on that turf than everyone else. And then You know what? I feel Kirk Cousins does it again. Over passing touchdowns where
Ooh.
Kirk chains those. Against this
Well,
Panthers defense,
let's take a look. Let me pull this up on FanDuel right
against
now
this
and
Panthers
see what these odds are.
these Panthers defense against this Panthers defense, it's just I don't know. It's just like saying, "Hey, give that to me, give that to me," and then this should always be in every play that you do. David Montgomery, anytime touchdown. I do not care. He is just he is one of those guys where you just say CMC may have died, but you cannot destroy the idea of giving one running back anytime touchdowns. And Montgomery, I always feel safe with him. Like he may not score it until later in the game, but I feel good about him. Gibbs may steal one of those things, but he's going to get his one.
They don't have all that stuff up yet for the Sunday games. That's sad.
Yeah, but those are like my favorites when it comes to like these are the ones that I like the most out of everything else. That I would bet, but I would definitely do that as my parlay for sure.
You know what they do
Jalen,
have, though? They do
what?
have, and I think they do normally by the time we record this on Tuesdays. They do have the lines up for people for Thursday night. So it'd be fun if we came up with Thursday night parlays every week just to see what we can do. 'Cause right now, the over under for Geno passing yards 249.
Don't like that under.
And the over under for Glock Purdy is 254.
I like that. Purdy's been throwing really well, and they trusted in him to throw a lot. He gets a lot of deep balls going, so and the run after catch counts. So I like Purdy over.
Our over under for DK is 67. Over under for Debo is 56. Over under for JSN is 47. Over under for Ayuk is 65. Over under for Lockett is 45. Kittle is at 48. Juwan Jennings, talk about a fall off, is 29. And then they've got Noah Fant at 21. And then randomly Jordan Mason at 9. Over under 9.
I love that JSN at 49.5 because it's kind of like Rashee Rice.
A lot more.
Yeah, because like Rashee Rice, it was like the same thing like his rookie year. They would just kept like having his receptions at like 4.5 and his receiving yards at like 69. And I would bet that all the time and it would always hit because it was like, who else is Mahomes going to throw to? But I like that Jackson Smith and Jigba at 49.5. I think that's a good over. DK, the problem with DK is you're banking on DK catching that big long run touchdown.
Right.
Because other than that, it's like with DK, like he will get his like receptions wise. I like DK receptions wise because he will get his catches, but yardage, that's where DK kind of struggles with at some games where he won't necessarily get the yardage you want, but he will get the receptions. So I don't know what DK's reception line is at, but I would trust DK Metcalf more on the reception side of things and JSN on the yardage side of things because JSN he'll be open in the middle, get like 20 yards there, 15, and he just needs 4 catches, and I feel like he hits it, to be honest.
They got Metcalf at 5.
Yeah, see, 5 is a good tally. That one I would stay away from. Like if it was like 4.5, I would go over, but 5.
Yeah, it's 4.5.
Like, 4.5. Okay. Okay. Yeah,
I would go. You need 5 receptions.
Yeah, I would go over. I would go to. I thought you meant the line was at 5 because 5. That's like DK Metcalf's range. He always catches at least 5 or 6 of them things.
It's funny. Almost all of them are at 4.5. Debo's at 4.5. DK, Ayuk, JSN, Lockett, and Kittle all 4. Over under is 4.5.
See, the problem with Debo is he gets too many of those like reverse plays, so it doesn't count towards your reception. So like that's why I'm all like like. I would love to say Debo could get 5, but a lot of times they use them in many different facets. So
and look, they are really taking into account what we were talking about with Gibbs and Monty running all over the Seahawks. The over under for Mason is 82.
I'd say you take the gamble and you put under on that. I think this is a Brock. I think Brock Purdy's going to be throwing a lot more this game. Like I don't think it's going to be.
They got Kenneth Walker at 59.
That sounds about right. I like Walker more for like touchdowns than yardage. Walker, he can have those big games. But
Speaking of our anytime touchdowns, -180 for Mason, -125 for Walker, +125 for Debo, +150 for Metcalf, +160 for Ayuk, and +165 for Kittle, +200 for JSN.
I like Kittle getting a touchdown here. I think he normally does well against the Seahawks. I like Kittle getting a red zone touchdown. I think that's the touchdown guy. You know, we're to choose a first touchdown scorer. It might be someone random. You know, like
Yeah.
what's Jake Bobo at? What's Jake Bobo at? Where's my boy Bobo as first touchdown scorer?
+3,500.
I'm staking the claim right now. Jake Bobo, first touchdown scorer. I am putting my flag on Jake fucking Bobo.
You know what's crazy?
I can
see they have Jake Bobo at +3,500. The entire San Francisco defense for first touchdown is +3,900. They're anytime though is +650.
What's Chenault at for first touchdown?
+3,500, same as Bobo.
It's between my dog Jake Bobo or LaVisca Chenault. One of those, because I could see it. Seahawks are in a situation. 49ers are going to be like, we're going to stop Kenneth Walker at all costs. DK will be covered a little bit. Jackson Smith and Jigba or Tyler Lockett, whichever other wide receivers out there, they're not going to get there. Seahawks don't throw to their tight end in the red zone. Jake Bobo or Chenault, drag route, goes touchdown. And then you're just like, oh, wow. Oh, look at the Seahawks. What a drive. So, you know, if you're going for Seahawks first touchdown scores, Jake Bobo. But if you're going for 49ers, you got to be more realistic. It's most likely either Mason or Kittle. I think those are the two first touchdown scorers. So, if you want to get cute, Jawan Jennings.
So let's see. You said over Brock Purdy for yardage, so over 254. Yes. You said over for JSN at 47.
Yes.
How do you feel about Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Jennings? So just as a reminder, Debo's at 56, Ayuk's at 65, Kittle's at 48, Jennings is at 29.
I feel they're all kind of going to get the ball spread out too much. I feel like if you're going to choose one of them, I feel like Ayuk is probably the better bet. You know, Ayuk tends to do well against. I think they're going to overplay Jawan Jennings. They're going to make sure Jennings can't do his thing. I think Debo, a lot of his yardage is also going to come from the ground in this game. So it's going to be like receiving wise, that's like a wash. Kittle, I think, is just going to be more effective in like the red zone type of situation. Like he can break that one big run after catch, but I think Ayuk will be the main receiver I would go for over. But everyone else, if you want to bet under, I don't blame you on them.
And you like over on Walker at 59?
No, not really. I think that's kind of like, I think this is a Charbonnet, like Walker. They split a lot of carry. I like Walker touchdowns. Yeah, maybe rushing attempts. I don't know if they have those spreads up, but if Walker's over rushing attempts is like 15.5 or something. I like Walker.
They have it, but you can't same game parlay it. It would have to be a straight bet.
Oh, okay.
It's straight bet. But it is 13.5 for rush attempts for Walker.
Yeah, I would go over that for sure. Walker's going to get a good load of that football too.
Yeah, it's so I think the rushing receiving could be interesting for Walker, but anyway, yeah, maybe that's what we'll start doing. We'll start doing some Thursday night parlay.
I'm making that my prize picks right now. I'm gonna go fucking make a prize picks team and trust my gut. Put my money, put $5 on this, and say, hey, I trust this.
But guys, there you go. There you have it. Our week 6 picks. I definitely went a lot of favored, as I am pretty wont to do. I went different. Where did I go different on against the favored? Took the Cardinals. And then I went with the Jets. I think I'm only risking twice with the underdogs versus the favorites. And you, sir, are going pretty decent on your taking the underdogs. You've got Seattle.
Yeah.
You've got the where is it? The Giants and the Jets. Oh, I also have the Jets. So yeah, so you've got Jets, Giants, and Seahawks. I think those are the ones you're taking that are the underdogs. So yeah, guys, there you go. You have it, and we'll let you know as always how our picks turn out. But Chase, let the people know where they can find you, my good sir.
Yeah, you guys can find me on X at Chase Oliver 68. Follow the Around the Point Network. I'll be on our AEW Wrestle Dream predictions. I gotta catch up on Tuesday night title Tuesday, whatever that show Twincom calls tonight. But catch up on that. So yeah, it should be a fun episode. And I don't know about that because I was free Saturday night, but I might be doing a photography at a wedding. So who knows? We'll find out. Yeah, they'll find out.
And guys, you can always catch me here on the True Hilliard Sports Entertainment channel. Junior Rudy, you were asking earlier if we are doing a watch party Sunday. I believe we are. We didn't this week. I believe we are. However, I do not want to speak out of turn there simply because there's a chance that I will not be available for some of those games depending on when my wife and her family are flying back from Italy when they arrive. I'm going to try to be around for that because that feels a little bit more important than football. And luckily, the Broncos are playing earlier.
Bro, you got to be there for all the games. You know, football greater than life. Come on, you gotta tell your wife, hey, sorry, babe, it's football season. I gotta divorce you for a bit.
Well, I mean that's part of why she was able to make it for this Italy thing. She knew that I would be easily entertained
Amused.
at home.
You're just like, oh.
But guys, thanks again for tuning in. Remember, hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already, and let us know in the comments if you're watching this after the fact what you thought about our picks, and if you were watching on after Sunday or after Monday, and you're able to tell us why we were absolute idiots to pick whatever we picked. Feel free, and we will we'll let you know how it goes. So until next time, guys, remember, take care of yourselves and each other. We'll catch you all later.